Mr. Mayor, it's 6:30. Are we ready to begin?
We are ready to begin our meeting, yes.
Recording in progress.
Well, thank you very much and good evening. Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Petaluma City Council and Petaluma Community Development Successor Agency for Monday, February 3rd, 2025. You are right. We're on April. I'm living in the past. And so today is April 7th, and you're all welcome to be here this day too. And so we do have public comment on tonight, and if you wish to speak, there's a speaker card in the back of the room, and please bring it to our clerk at the front of the room. And now I'd like to invite Monica Aparicio and Maria Galvez to provide information to those who wish to participate in Spanish.
Thank you and good afternoon. Buenas tardes, me llamo Mónica y estoy aquí con mi pareja de interpretación María. Estamos hoy aquí como intérpretes. Hoy este evento se llevará a cabo en español e inglés. Se usarán ambos idiomas activamente, así que usted podrá elegir un canal para participar en su idioma preferido después que le hayamos explicado cómo funcionará la interpretación. Estaremos usando la función de interpretación de Zoom. Después que termine esta explicación, se activará la función de interpretación. Si usted se está conectando con su computadora, verá un icono de un mundo en la parte inferior de su pantalla. Si se está conectando con su tableta o teléfono, pulse en más y verá un menú que incluye la opción de interpretación de idiomas. Para escuchar la interpretación, pulse el icono del mundo o interpretación de idiomas y a continuación elija su canal de idioma. Thank you. We're ready.
And thank you. May we have our roll call for the evening?
Barnacle?
Present.
Cater Thompson?
Here.
Now?
Here.
Shribs?
Here.
Oh. DeCarly?
Here.
Quint?
Here.
McDonald?
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Let's rise to the Pledge of Allegiance. And a moment of silence. And I would like to note that tonight we'll be closing our meeting in honor of Gloria Robinson. And Gloria, well-known community activist, long-time participant in everything in Petaluma, and co-founder of Petaluma Blacks for Community Development. Hopefully be following in the newspaper the stories about her and the memorial coming up for her. Now looking at our agenda tonight, I'm looking up and down the dais to see if anyone would like to alter anything on the, and so we're adopting the agenda as it's prepared in the document. And we get to move on to our proclamations for this month. And our first proclamation is for Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And I'd like to invite Georgina Bugarin of Domestic Violence Advocates to the podium while I read the proclamation. Whereas Sexual Assault Awareness Month is intended to draw attention to the fact that sexual violence is widespread and has a profound and lasting impact on every community member of Sonoma County. And whereas Verity, Sexual Assault Prevention Intervention and Healing Center, worked with over 1,300 survivors in Sonoma County in 2024, and has further contributed to community education and outreach in 2024 by hosting 247 presentations and events, reaching a total of 10,000 community members with valuable information. Whereas national research indicates that 1 in 5 women will be raped at some point in their lifetime, and nearly half of all women will experience some form of sexual violence, and at least 1 in 6 men have experienced sexual abuse or assault, whether in childhood or as an adult. And whereas Whereas over 18,000 members of the military and over 80,000 people who are incarcerated experience sexual violence every year. And whereas with leadership, dedication, and encouragement, there is evidence that we can be successful in preventing sexual violence in Sonoma County through increased education, awareness, and community involvement. And whereas the City of Petaluma strongly supports the effort of Verity and encourages every resident to actively engage in public and private efforts to end sexual violence, including conversations about what sexual violence is, how to prevent it, how to help survivors of all backgrounds, and connect with crucial counseling and other support services, and how every segment of our society can work together to better address sexual violence. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Kevin McDonald, Mayor of Petaluma, along with the members of the Petaluma City Council, formally designates the month of April 2025 to be Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Thank you for your work.
Thank you for this meaningful recognition and honor of Sexual Assault Awareness Month. On behalf of Verity, Sonoma County Sexual Assault Prevention, Intervention, and Healing Center, we are grateful to the City of Petaluma for your work in amplifying this critical issue. True change happens when we work together and recognize the supporting survivors of sexual assault, domestic violence, and human trafficking in their healing and justice journeys. Requires a community of advocates, law enforcement agency, lawmakers, judges, educators, social services, medical professionals, volunteers, and more. Petaluma demonstrates this commitment through the innovative partnership between Verity and Petaluma Police Department, allowing us to provide the community with the embedded sexual assault advocate, myself. The value of this partnership cannot be overstated. We are working to hold up this model for replication through the county. Sexual Assault Awareness Month is a call to action to show survivors that we are a community that do recognize sexual violence. Verity has many opportunities to get involved. We invite you to reach out to those who feel inspired. Thank you.
Thank you. Also tonight we have National Public Safety Telecommunicator Week 2025, and I'd like to invite up Chief Brian Miller, Deputy Chief Nick McGowan, Tina Thompson, Manager of the Technical Services Division, to the podium while I read the proclamation. Whereas the President of the United States has designated the second week of April as National Public Safety Telecommunicator Week in recognition of nationwide telecommunicators, also known as public safety dispatchers, who serve in our communities and are our community members and our public safety personnel. Whereas this week is a time to show our appreciation and to recognize that our health, safety, and well-being are often dependent on the commitment and steadfast devotion of public safety dispatchers, because emergencies can occur anytime, and that requires police, fire, medical services, or other critical services. And whereas when emergencies do occur, the prompt response of the public safety dispatchers, police officers, firefighters, and medical personnel is critical. Whereas the safety of our police officers is dependent on the quality of and accuracy of information obtained from community members who telephone the Petaluma Emergency Communications Center. And whereas the Petaluma Public Safety Dispatchers are the first and most critical contact of our community members have with emergency services. And whereas public safety dispatchers of the Petaluma Police Department in 2024 handled 65,000 calls for services, which encompasses 24,000 emergency 911 calls and 532 text to 911 messages and 29,000 non-emergency calls and 5,740 calls for the SAFE team. And whereas the City of Petaluma also recognizes Police Public Safety Dispatcher Annie Demo as the recipient of our annual Dispatcher of the Year Award. So now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Kevin McDonald, Mayor of Petaluma, along with the members of the Petaluma City Council, formally designate April 13th to 19th, 2025 as National Public Safety Telecommunicator Week. Thank you all.
Don't go anywhere. And I assure the community we have some dispatchers currently working in the comm center. But thank you, Mayor and members of council and city leadership for recognizing my staff with this proclamation. And please introduce Jen Rowe, one of our dispatchers, Darylyn, one of our dispatchers as well, our technical services manager, Tina Thompson, who oversees that entire division, and our newly promoted dispatch supervisor, Carrie Nevy. Our dispatchers are really the unsung heroes that are often behind the scenes. They're calm voices in chaos, lifelines in emergencies, and critical partners in our public safety response. They're the first to answer the call. They're that first touch point that the community has interacting with our police department. And they help us gather essential information and coordinating our swift response for police, fire, and medical personnel. As I said, they're the calm voices when 911 at answering those calls all hours of the night and providing life-saving instructions, ensuring our officers, firefighters, and medics are safe and effective in their dispatching. Behind the scenes, these heroes are truly the first of the first responders. Their ability to stay calm and composed under pressure, to think clearly and act quickly, is nothing short of extraordinary. They're an essential part of our public safety team and a cornerstone of the service to this community. Their profession, compassion, and quick thinking make a difference in our lives and the community members in Petaluma every single day. So this is a special day to recognize their contributions. It's not often that we let them out of their communication center and in public, and they often don't get that opportunity for community engagement. So it's really a welcomed moment to help us shine some light on them, not just this week, but year round. So thank you. We're proud of our team. We're proud to serve along with them and alongside them with our community. So thank you.
Thank you.
And also tonight, it's Fair Housing Month. And I'd like to invite Elise Hemphill, Executive Director of Petaluma People Services, to the podium while we read the proclamation. Whereas the principles of fair housing is not only state and national law and policy, but a fundamental human concept and entitlement for all citizens. And whereas discrimination based on race, national origin, gender, disability, familial status, that is exclusion of minor children, religion, marital status, and sexual orientation is illegal in California. And whereas, as a community, we welcome all good neighbors, recognizing the contributions and richness tendered by a wide variety of young and old, male and female, people of all colors, ethnic backgrounds, religious traditions, etc. And whereas interested parties from both the private and public sectors will participate in a city, state, and national effort to promote fair housing. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Kevin McDonald, Mayor of Petaluma, along with the members of the Petaluma City Council, do hereby declare the month of April 2025 as Fair Housing Month in the city of Petaluma, and urge all residents of our community to personally adopt the spirit of equal housing opportunity and adhere to the letter and character of the fair housing laws. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. And I have with me Bianca Aldis. First of all, you need to know Bianca joined us in the middle of COVID to help run the county's rental assistance, and she's been working her butt off since then, and now she's a fair housing specialist. So I'm going to read our response in English, and then Bianca is going to share it in Spanish, because that's how we do it, to make sure fair housing is covered. The Fair Housing Act of 1968 was a monumental step forward in protecting individuals and families from discrimination in renting, buying a home, obtaining a mortgage, or seeking housing assistance. For over 45 years, PPSC has proudly partnered with the City of Petaluma to uphold and enforce these vital protections at a local level. We applaud the City of Petaluma for its ongoing commitment to fair and equitable housing. Together, we work to ensure that every resident, regardless of their background, has access to safe, stable housing without fear of discrimination. At PPSC, our fair housing team is dedicated to providing education and outreach to both tenants and landlords. We believe that many evictions can be avoided through education, communication, and mediation. Our work in Petaluma has led to meaningful, negotiated solutions that have prevented displacement and fostered stronger and more informed housing relationships. While federal fair housing protections face increasing challenges, we want to assure our community that PPSC stands with our mission. We are here to protect the best interests of both tenants and landlords, and we will continue to be the resource and advocate and the partner in building a fairer Petaluma for all. While we're on the subject of fairer, for those of you who are in the Little Woods Mobile Home Park, the city has prepared a summary on the most current status, and they've printed it out in English and Spanish, and we will leave it on the back table for anybody to pick up who is a Little Woods resident. It's also available on the City of Petaluma's website in English and Spanish, and of course it's on Petaluma People's Services website.
Celebrando la vivienda justa, un compromiso con la equidad en Petaluma. La Ley de Vivienda Justa de 1968 fue un paso monumental hacia adelante en la protección de individuos y familias contra la discriminación al rentar, comprar una casa, obtener una hipoteca o solicitar asistencia para vivienda. Durante más de 45 años, Petaluma People's Services Center se ha asociado con orgullo con la ciudad de Petaluma para mantener y hacer cumplir estas protecciones vitales a nivel local. Aplaudimos a la ciudad de Petaluma por su continuo compromiso con una vivienda justa y equitativa. Juntos trabajamos para asegurar que cada residente, sin importar su origen, tenga acceso a una vivienda segura y estable sin temor a discriminación. En Petaluma People's Services Center, nuestro equipo de vivienda justa está dedicado a proporcionar educación y divulgación tanto a inquilinos como a propietarios. Creemos que muchos desalojos se pueden evitar a través de la educación, la comunicación y la mediación. Nuestro trabajo en Petaluma ha conducido a soluciones negociadas significativas que han prevenido el desplazamiento y fomentado relaciones de vivienda más fuertes e informadas. Aunque las protecciones federales de vivienda justa enfrentan crecientes desafíos, queremos asegurar a nuestra comunidad que Petaluma People's Services Center se mantiene firme en su misión. Estamos aquí para proteger los mejores intereses tanto de inquilinos como de propietarios y continuaremos siendo un recurso, un defensor y un socio en la construcción de una Petaluma más justa para todos. Para aquellos que viven en Littlewood Park, la ciudad ha preparado un resumen sobre el estado más actual en español y en inglés y estarán impresos en la mesa en la parte trasera de la Cámara. Gracias.
And thank you very much. And tonight we have a presentation to have for us here. You know, much as we think that this city is the be-all and end-all, we're actually part of something much bigger, and we connect with and we count on the county. And to help us understand what's happening at the county these days, we have our county supervisor, David Rabbit. Please join us.
Thank you so much, Mayor, and good evening, everyone. Thank you to the Mayor again, the Vice Mayor, Council Member, City Manager. It's great to see you, Attorney and Clerk. Thanks so much for accommodating me and allowing me to come tonight to give you really just a brief update on a few county issues. Also, always available for any questions that you have or the public. If there's anything that piques anyone's interest, would love to talk about that further. The Board of Supervisors, we'll start off with just the financial picture because I know that's everything derives from the dollars to pay for those programs. The Board of Supervisors are going to be, we're going to be conducting our spring budget workshops over 3 days at the end of the month. I think this is a great way that we do this. It allows us an opportunity to gather information and discuss priorities with our 27 departments in advance of our budget hearings in June. So it's a little preview to kind of get everyone's wants and wishes, challenges, opportunities then also at the same time start compiling all the different revenue sources and things that we know that are out there and making sure that we can match the two in a better fashion come June. The county budget is approximately $2.5 billion. Most of this is pass-through funds. The county general fund, I think this year is about $550 million. Like most jurisdictions, we're looking at flat to slightly declining projections across the board. Sales tax, countywide and beyond. I think that's what most of our consultants are telling us is flattening, as appear to be in a bit of a, I don't know what the right word for it, but perhaps economic malaise, going back to Jimmy Carter years, waiting for really the other shoe to drop, apparently. Property tax revenues have remained strong, but with higher interest rates and, again, the kind of malaise that's out there, we expect a much slower growth moving forward. And there's typically a significant lag in property tax revenue. It drops slower but takes longer to recover as well. If we can go to the next slide. Talk about one of my favorite subjects, only because I got involved early with this, something about our roads in the county. I know that for all of us, roads are an important thing. It's one of the larger assets besides the people that we all participate in and have to take care of in the county. I think I'm proud to say that Sonoma County continues to make unprecedented investments in improving our road system. In 2011, I co-authored a report on the county's roads, and we recommended a strategy moving forward to make those improvements. Part of the challenge is that, and I'll give my road spiel, which I think I have down now after all these years. Part of the challenge is that the County of Sonoma is responsible for 1,369 miles of roads. That's the equivalent of maintaining a road from here in Petaluma to Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. That's a long way. That's a lot of asphalt. That's a lot of road to take care of. And just for the perspective, Marin County, and we're talking the unincorporated counties now, has 420 miles of roads. Napa, 450 miles of roads. Solano, 576 miles. And again, Sonoma with 1,369, just an awful lot of roads. It's interesting the way that development patterns occurred. We have a lot of smaller ranches, farms, a lot of roads that go up, serve a few houses. But just the way that the whole development patterns occurred, that we've had so many miles of roads in the county. Even sprawling Mendocino County has fewer miles than Sonoma, with just over 1,100. And a certain percentage of theirs are still gravel. And that took a significant investment. We more than doubled our maintenance of effort mandate by tapping into the general fund. In fact, Sonoma County led all 58 counties in California with using discretionary money on paving roads. And we did that because we had to. And I think I've told some of you this before, but historically the way that roads are funded through the gas tax, which has been declining because we're all getting better gas mileage and we have a lot more electric vehicles out there, including the one I drove tonight. But the gas tax is declining. The gas tax, again, the state keeps 56 cents of every dollar. They use that for the state highway system. The other 44 is split equally between counties and cities. The cities, Petaluma, gets yours based on a per capita basis. Every city does. The counties, for some reason, gets our share based on 25% on road miles, 75% on road miles. I said that backwards. Population, which means, Orange County, less roads, 16 times more funding. And it really is a unique circumstance, and one that is difficult to change in Sacramento because the population centers also have more legislators. So, of course, but we're hoping that whatever the new gas tax formula is rolling out will be in the future, that's taken into account. But that's the reason that we've made our own investment in roads, because we weren't keeping up. And it was obvious that the gas tax alone was not going to make that going forward. We took that significant, we're, again, more than doubled that. And we do have a maintenance of effort by tapping into the general fund, as I said, using one-time funds and setting aside a new fund within escalators that we could achieve our goal. And I think that resulted in paving 546 miles of roads to date, averaging about 42 miles every paving season during the summer months for the last 13 years. 215 miles of roads are in the unincorporated South County, I think that number is actually close to what Petaluma has for total maintained miles of roads as well. And within the district, we paved or treated 115 miles. And in this coming fiscal year, we will invest another $31 million in paving going forward. And just so you know, some notable roads scheduled and or paved: Paula Lane from Bodega Boulevard to city limits, Purrington, Chapman, Queens, Hatchery, CV Lane and Road, Minnesota Avenue, Cypress Avenue, Casa Grande from Adobe to city limits, Corona from Petaluma Boulevard north to the city limits, King, Lowell, Bloomfield, Cunningham, Rainsfield, and there's some more. The goal of the report 14 years ago was to improve our pavement condition index, and we have year over year, which I'm proud of, even with all those miles. Our major roads are considered very good with a PCI of anywhere between 69 and 80. What pulls us down to the mid-50 level are all those local roads that serve few residences. And quite frankly, some of those roads probably won't be paved. A mile or 2 mile long road that serves 2 residents, hard to really make that big investment for essentially what really is a long driveway. A couple of things I wanted to bring to your attention too. If you've been down Lakeville, this is the intersection of Stagecoach and Lakeville at Ernie's Tin Bar. Caltrans is working on, and with the county, working on a new roundabout at that location. As you know, that's a very dangerous location. There's been lots of collisions there over the years, some fatalities as well. So this is really an important project to move forward. It has, there we go, wrong page. It's a large roundabout, obviously, 180-foot circular roundabout with slip lane on the northbound right turn lane. And so roundabouts, and I'll show you or talk about 2 other roundabouts, and I know that you know this well. There's been too many, Caltrans looked at a traffic signal at this, but a roundabout was the preferred alternative, and typically a roundabout always kind of rises to the top because roundabouts have about 8 potential vehicle collision points, whereas a signalized intersection or any intersection is going to have about 32. And for pedestrians, it goes from 24 down to 8 again. So just, outside of someone driving up and over, not paying attention, are fewer collisions overall on the roundabouts that we have. I believe that's true here in Petaluma as well. So salute you on that, but that's down on Lakeville. Here's another quick one. Got it? There it is. This is Old Redwood and Eli. This is a county project. This was identified in a traffic study conducted in and around Pengrove to address another dangerous intersection here. When I was putting this thing together, I don't know if any of you are old enough to remember. Maybe a few of you are. 1971, the song Roundabout by Yes. I give you an earworm for tonight. There's no slide included, but I think there's another roundabout of the same stage as this one that is at Old Redwood Highway and Railroad Avenue, another very dangerous intersection that's had some horrific collisions. And my office has had 3 meetings with the property owners in each quadrant to ensure that their concerns are heard and mitigated in the final design. Because as you know, it's a long process to work on, making sure you can acquire the land, take care of the drainage, take care of the landscaping, the fencing, and everything else that's involved. I apologize to a couple of you this morning that heard some of this earlier at our WAC and TAC meeting, but I think it's so important, and we're at a crucial point in time for the Potter Valley project for water. Water in California has always been controversial and complicated. We are actually trying to make this project less so. And I can tell you that I serve as chair of IRPA. That's the Eel Russian Project Authority. It's a JPA between the County of Sonoma, the Mendocino County Inland Water and Power, and Sonoma Water. Round Valley Indian tribes also sit in the JPA, although due to sovereignty issues or concerns, they're not signatories on that as well. IRPA has the authority to negotiate with PG&E as the utility moves forward with their decision to surrender operations of the Potter Valley Hydroelectric Project and decommission Scott Dam and Cape Horn Dam on the Eel River in Lake County. Most importantly, IRPA will also have the legal capacity to own, construct, and operate a new water diversion facility near the Cape Horn Dam. And for over 100 years, an 8-foot diameter, redwood-lined, 1 mile long tunnel delivered water into PG&E's penstocks in Potter Valley, where PG&E produced energy, electricity. The residual water then passed through Potter Valley, was used for irrigation there before heading down into Lake Mendocino on the upper reaches of the Russian River. This water is vitally important for all of us who deliver water to our residents, to maintain minimum in-stream flows for the fisheries on both sides of the hill, both the eel and the Russian. It's really, as Congressman Huffman described, a two-basin solution, trying to make sure that both rivers can coexist and that the needs of those on both sides of the hill or the watershed can survive as well. The diversion needs to continue. That's really, I can tell you, it's really about the diversion to maintain that water flow. And the best way to guarantee that flow is to be included in the PG&E surrender application to the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, or FERC. We are in the document as we sit in the draft document. It needs to go through a process. This is a very long process, a decade. It takes a long time to deal with these kind of issues, especially water. It doesn't mean that this is the only project that's out there, but this is a way to maintain the diversion that is vitally important to our fisheries and to our water supply, maintaining the in-stream flow, so that by the time you get to where we take the water at Wohler, down in the lower reaches of the Russian River, you can actually do that with confidence that you know that you're not ruining an ecosystem upstream. So we're working on this very hard, and this summer month, ERPA will probably have a meeting sometime in June, depending on how things shake out with the application, what's happening in DC. And I know there's a lot of controversy when you talk about taking a dam down. A lot of people have other ideas, but I can tell you, for our county, for our customers, for our water supply, it's the diversion. We are agnostic on whether the dam stays or goes. I get literally hundreds, maybe 1,000 emails from the residents around Lake Pillsbury. I totally understand. Their issue is really between the private utility, PG&E, and the federal government in terms of how that all gets handled, and we're working through that as well. So with that, I'm here. If you have any other questions or need any other topic, I'm more than happy, but I also don't want to take too much of your time.
No, we certainly appreciate those highlights. And also the Potter Valley is really one of the biggest things that is going on right now. So I do want to look up and down the dais and see if anyone has a direct question, or if we're just impressed that the county is getting so much done. So.
And you as well, and I appreciate being here. It's great to see all of you. Look forward to continuing our conversations. Look forward to seeing you at Butter and Eggs coming up. And thank you again for allowing me the time.
And thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, moving into general public comment for the evening. And during general public comment, the public is invited to make comments on item of public interest that are within the City Council's subject matter jurisdiction and that are not listed on the current agenda. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes per person, and depending on the number of persons wishing to address the council, time will be allocated in equal shares, totaling no more than 20 minutes. I'd like to ask our clerk if we have cards, letters, emails coming in ahead of tonight's meeting.
We did receive 3 general public comments ahead of the meeting, and those are posted on the website. And I can read the instructions now. At this time, I will start a 30-second clock. So during these 30 seconds, members of the public attending in person should bring their speaker cards to the clerk's desk if they have not already done so. Speakers are reminded to be respectful in their comments and that this meeting is being translated. Please pause between sentences for translation.
Thank you. We have 11 speakers on cards tonight, and so I'm going to call that 12. We have a last one coming in here, and that puts us at 90 seconds per on these cards. And I'd like to invite Catherine Babowski to speak first and Adina Flores to speak second.
Yes, my name is Catherine Babowski. I live at the Littlewoods Villa Moulton Park. Harmony Community is not giving all the residents there the closure of the park. They only give certain ones because they're favoring. Also, too, this park management there has been having our friends in the past vandalize my mobile home, threatened me, stealing my and also threatened to kick my ass and also kill me, burn down my mobile home with me in it if I don't give my mobile to her and her friends. And this is what Harmony's put in on our door. Harmony's been harassing the residents, terrorizing the residents. They're bullies, and they're stealing mobile homes that they don't own and don't have title to. Also, too, we should not be paying for Harmony's property tax for the land. They should be paying their own property tax. I'm asking you, please put Harmony Community out of business for good. They should not be breaking the laws. Thank you.
Thank you. Adina Flores to be followed by Jody Johnson.
Good evening, Council. Our Supervisor, David Rabbit, just spoke, and he's been in the paper recently because he's being investigated by the Fair Political Practices Commission. But it seems that we have a bias in the media because Mr. Barnacle, our councilman, has been under investigation since the fall as well due to omissions on his statements of economic interest that were submitted to the Fair Political Practices Commission. So I'd appreciate if City Attorney Danley could clarify that those sources of income, as you're a consultant for clean energy solutions, as well as your clients, were not disclosed. And we've had many conflicts of interest that have been brought to my attention, especially regarding the downtown overlay project. I became aware that Councilman DeCarly recused himself from discussions regarding the recent decision that was made with the downtown due to having a property in the area, but your wife manages a flower business downtown, and so I don't know why you wouldn't recuse yourself. And City Attorney Danley is communicating with the Fair Political Practices Commission currently, but that is still being discussed. So again, I would appreciate for full transparency if we can have this on the record for your city attorney to address why your conflicts of interest have not been made public. And going back to the Potter Valley Dam removal, I was at the Cloverdale Town Hall. We are about to lose 26 billion gallons of water. Thank you, Councilman DeCarly, for being there. It's important. God bless you.
Thank you. Jody Johnson to be followed by Janice Barker.
Good evening, City Council and City staff. We at Youngstown wish to take a moment to reflect on the life and the loss of Gloria Robinson. Gloria was a force to be reckoned with. She brought the power of change and inclusivity forward with respect, diligence, and resilience. Recognized by so many cities, counties, and state leaders, Gloria humbly called Youngstown home. When faced with the attacks on our senior community, Youngstown, Gloria used those relationships to connect us and enable us to fight against greed and elder abuse that became commonplace by park owners for over 3 years now. Gloria never spoke of the impressive hard work, good trouble she had been engaged in for decades. She taught us the path through action and relationship building. 3 months ago, Gloria sat at our super chapter meeting, making sure her membership to GSMOL was renewed, and she volunteered to be on a committee to help. In her health challenges, Gloria was still thinking of the greater good of her fellow neighbors. Personally, she gave me the ability to walk in her big shoes and reminded me that anything is possible when the change you seek is based on truth, community, and inclusion. Gloria's faith was unwavering, and there is no doubt she will be the angel now lifting us up and empowering ourselves to equity and to the outcomes that benefit the greater good of our community. To borrow another community member's condolences, rest in power, Gloria, as you sit in the loving arms of God.
Thank you. Janice Barker to be followed by Chris Parker.
Good evening. As residents from impacted mobile home parks here in Petaluma, we direct our comments mainly for the purpose of recording the harm, retaliation, and abuse of all of our residents in Littlewoods, Youngstown, and Capri. It takes a village to stand up, maintain, and change the direction of abuse. We have been and continue to advocate for the defending, enforcing, and strengthening of laws, ordinances, and protections. Littlewood's residents suffer great loss to their community and to their ability to simply exist and take care of their families. Hard to witness the loss and reduction of other amenities like parking, the loss of control over the future of your own mobile home, the loss of money it takes to legally just merely stand up for an ordinance, a law, or a protection that was enacted to prevent harm. The mental anguish to seek a safe place to park, the mental anguish of yet another notification from the park owners claiming the park is closing, the mental anguish of yet another court fight to maintain the non-increase of ground rent. Yet these residents who humbly live within their means are fighting hard for their future and the ability to keep a roof over their children and their parents' heads. The mobile home they purchased with hard-earned money must be protected from greed and gouging.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chris Parker, to be followed by Tim Porteous.
City of Petaluma, Littlewoods residents are grateful for the letter they received last Friday. For a moment in time, they felt hope. Residents are finding a way to put one foot in front of the other, but the mental challenges continue to increase. Capri residents are also faced with multiple attacks on their community and loss and reduction of services like parking, increased ground rents, overcharges, legal challenges, and now a state inspection do worry. Imagine waking up each day to try to concentrate on your job, your family, and even your health, and wait for the next assault on your small community. Grateful, though, that nonprofits like Rebuilding Together Petaluma see the need, react to potential challenges, and come up with a solution to allow residents to go on the offensive against violations or unsafe living conditions. Heavy lifting going on from these partnerships who seek to support and safeguard any community resident regardless of their net worth. Youngstown residents feel that years now of abuse and retaliation, but continue to fight back and maintain and enhance the protection that were voted in for all seven mobile parks in Petaluma. While we continue to find the money and the resolve, we seek humbly to make challenges that will help our fellow mobile residents throughout the county and notably across the state.
And Tim Porteous, to be followed by Elvia Calderon.
Greetings. We Petaluma mobile residents united are grateful for the thoughtful enforcements, litigation, and intent to defend lawful ordinances and zoning and never take those for granted. We know that the city of Petaluma stands as the beacon of light for all mobile park residents who now find themselves owned by large investment groups who seek to remove any protection or ordinance that stands in their way of their greed. We know that you will always diligently verify facts and react according to the intended purposes of your city ordinances and zoning. We are proud, once again, to call Petaluma home, where you are not judged by the amount of money you earn, the amount of money in your bank account, or the type of job you may have. Petaluma sees every resident as the power of the people to increase, engage, and make a difference in this city we choose to call home. We may not always agree, but we are always allowed our voices. The heart of Petaluma exists. We see it every day in community nonprofits and community members reaching out. We are Petaluma Mobile Residents United Strong.
Thank you. Elvia Calderon, to be followed by Chris Liebelu.
Good evening, City Council and staff. Tonight, I would like to bring in our parking issues at Littlewoods. We are experiencing delinquent activities with our vehicles, even confrontations with others due to no private parking spots. We park our vehicles anywhere we think we can. This is no longer working. Homeowners now putting barriers on the streets with orange cones, and business owners are leaving no parking notes on our doors, on our dashboards, even telling us verbally, do not park here. We feel they might think we have comprehension problems by not listening to do not park. Every day, all we hear is no park here, don't park there. We are not trying to cause any problem. It's just that we don't have any parking resources or very limited. Thank you for your support, and we beg you for support, for more support. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris Rebalu to be followed by John Hanania.
Good evening. I'm here as one of the champions for Age-Friendly Petaluma. It is my great pleasure to invite you and the community and city staff to attend our first formal event on Saturday, April 26th. It is an opportunity to learn how to be your own geriatrician. Why does this matter? There is a critical shortage in this country of doctors who know how to take care of older adults. Most physicians are not trained. They do not understand the aging body, which ends up in folks either being overtreated or undertreated. So I will be in conversation with Dr. Charlotte Carlson that day. The event starts at 10 a.m. It is free, thanks to our sponsors, which include the City of Petaluma, Healthy Petaluma, Sutter Health, and Blue Zones. We encourage folks to register. We expect a full house. Folks can register for the event by searching for the Age-Friendly Petaluma webpage on the city's website, or by going to the event page on the Blue Zones website. If you're an older adult, this event is for you. If you anticipate being a caregiver, this event is for you. There will be time for your questions.
Thank you.
I missed my last best line.
Thank you very much. John Hanania to be followed by Amy Atchley.
Good evening. I'm going to start this by a question I know the answer to. This is for the city clerk. When you do swear somebody in as a council member or a mayor, does it come with the Einstein diploma? Because some of you, they talk down to the public as you are, the majesty. I was surprised when I came in here today that some of the chairs are not replaced with a throne, because some of you think you're king and queens. And I don't appreciate that. When people don't agree with you, you talk down to them as your superior, and that's not okay. Now, it came to my attention 2 letters to the editor that was sent by Ben Peterson and a young man by Carter Kelly. Ben Peterson was harassing a young lady in the back of the hallway here on the 17th, and he was intimidating her. I got involved at the end of it. Walking out, I informed Councilmember DeCarly. On the 19th, I had a conversation with Councilmember Schrips. On the 24th, with Lieutenant Glaviano. But all of a sudden, he makes it look like other people are the bully when he's being a bully, when he's being labeled as a lap puppy. In fact, the person who had been informed me with this, he said, well, if a Brian Barnacle says to him, jump, he said, where and how high? Thank you.
Amy Atchley to be followed by Daryl Pike.
Hi, I'm Amy Ashley, owner of Amy's Roofing and Solar, a licensed electrical contractor here in Petaluma, and I've lived here for 13 years. My company works with Petaluma's building department almost daily. In fact, Petaluma is my favorite building department to work with. The issue I'd like to address today is related to unsafe electrical panels that are pervasive in Petaluma. One such brand is called a Zinsco panel, and it's a known fire hazard. We have dozens of requests per year for Zinsco panels to be replaced, but when they're within 3 feet of the gas mains, As a contractor, we're stuck in the same pickle, which is that PG&E won't give us permission to change the panel out without the city writing us a letter that it is required, and the Petaluma won't write us a letter due to the constraints PG&E puts on them. So to summarize, PG&E says that it's safer to have a 40-year-old electrical panel that's a known fire hazard 3 feet from the gas main, than it is to have a brand new electrical panel that is code compliant. So my husband, Brian, is a licensed electrician, and the company they worked for before our company did 100,000 jobs per year, and their policy was to not do any new work on Zisco panels because they didn't want to get wrapped up in any related liabilities. I would think that Petaluma would want to, 1, protect our residents from preventable fires, and 2, protect the city from potential liabilities resulting from refusing to allow homeowners to remove their hazardous electrical panels before there is a fire. Roanoke Park and other municipalities in California have an existing policy which disallows work on Zisco panels. I have spoken with parts of the city, and I believe that they would like to be able to do this with your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Darrell Pike, to be followed by Wayne Ekstrom.
Hello, my name is Darrell Pike. I live at Little Woods Mobile Villa. I got a eviction notice, and I noticed that they blocked off the back end of our mobile home park where our parking is. Now the fire trucks can't make it through when there's an emergency because they can't get out of the park. They have to back and forth to get through there. The last man that spoke, he doesn't even live at Little Woods. He's an insider for Harmony, and we need to get that fencing down so the fire department can get through for us. And number 2 at Little Woods Mobile Home Park was donated to the city's Parks and Recreation. Have you sold that back to Harmony? Because that is your property. The city council should step up and take that property back. They are renting it out and making money off of the city. We got to stand together and take this out. Thank you.
Thank you. Our last speaker for the evening is Wayne Ekstrom.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. My concern is in 2016, between 2016 and 2019, the water treatment facility plant was upgraded, and it was supposed to include an RNG, which is a reclaimed natural gas facility. And as of to date, I believe it's still offline. I'm not sure if it's a maintenance issue or a warranty issue. But I would like to see at least some kind of information set on the website on what is being proposed with this site due to all the construction that is going on. We need to have that facility up and running 100%. Thank you.
Thank you. I have one more speaker card request. I'm a little confused. Is the comment on the police audit item 10 or?
It's related but not quite on that. So it's actually perfect timing. It's actually perfect timing today. Yeah, my name is Paul Guerrero.
Is our next speaker.
Yep. And I'm on last August on 18th. I was downtown with my daughter, who's a biracial child. She presents as white. And we had a call, a report that there was a suspicious man with a little girl downtown. She plays music downtown. Many of you might have seen her down there. She was 7 at the time. And the police interaction was called, and they went to ask me if that was my child, who we played many times downtown, and several of the community has seen us down there. 8 months later, I'm still thinking about it, because that's the effect of that type of interaction. It's not innocent, it's not protecting, it's actually self-serving and some ignorance that a caller had. Really concerned, she was very concerned for that child, who was my daughter, by the way. So the review from the police came back and said it was commendable, exemplary action, and everything was handled to the best protection of Petaluma. 8 months later, I'm here telling you, I don't feel protected. I don't feel good about it. I'm the one that walks away with that feeling every time I'm downtown, but I'm going to be asked a question if my daughter is mine. And that is just ridiculous now. So the police auditor did get involved, who was completely useless, failed to ever contact. I was chasing him, trying to get updates on the matter, and it was just a complete shutdown. And I never got a call back, even though he left me a message to call him back, which was months ago. And that's where we're at. And I can tell you right now, the takeaway now is that your officials believe that this behavior is exemplary. I understand that, yeah, and commendable.
I do suggest you submit them to the clerk, the written form, and they'll get in the record that way. Okay. That concludes public comment for the evening. I'd like to move it on to council comment, and I'd like to start this end of the dais tonight with Council Member Shribs.
Okay, so I'm not going to go over the long list of meetings I went to, but there's two there that are most important. One at the Ag and Open Space. The matching grants program is going to be increasing in the future. They've allocated like $3 million per year so far, but the county supervisors seem to keep giving $6 million away instead. So that seems to be the new program that we're going to be pushing up, the matching grants program. So it's going to be on a like first come, first served basis coming up. And so we need to get involved, start putting in for more grants if we can, but they have to be matched. Then the second thing they're doing is the Buy, Protect, Sell program. And they're looking right now at a property just north of Petaluma. It's a smaller property. And in this program, what they do is they have folks that have volunteered who want to get into farming, usually younger folks with maybe 10 years experience who are looking to go into farming full time as a career. And so this Buy, Protect, Sell program is what they would buy the land, they would put it under legal protections, and then sell it to this new farmer with a lot of support. And so anyway, we have a plan here, possibly right here north of Petaluma as an option. So they got like 7 applicants to start doing this program. So anyway, look forward to something like that. At the North Bay Watershed Association, we had a speaker, and it turns out the golden mussel, which is as of April 24th of this year, was found at 20 different sites in our delta. And this mussel, the golden mussel, is considered to be much, much worse than either the zega or zebra or quagga or zebra mussels that have already been under investigation. So we have several reservoirs around Northern California that are closing down, no boats anymore. There's other programs that are being done. There's decontamination programs, but it's extremely serious. This is a mussel less than a dime size, but they produce in the hundreds of thousands rapidly, and they will clog pipes like crazy, and they completely coat surfaces very quickly. So anyway, so it's a real problem that's being faced. They're still being worked on. Lots of folks are involved in this, but just be aware. So boats have to be inspected and decontaminated between moving and water bodies now around. So the smaller boats, kayaks, canoes, and SUPs are still exempt if you have them dry. Anyway, that's a very important thing. Then the Napa River, got a tour of the Napa River Eco Education Center, and we have about $10 million of a plan that's going into effect. They've already got, it's at a facilities, the grounds facilities that are being given up right on the river, right there in America Canyon. And so I got able to tour and visit the folks, professional, staffed and housed, and they do 3,000 students a year, all several different grade levels, talking about watershed management. So we need to take a visit over there with our folks and see if we can duplicate that over here. Okay, and then just quickly on the float house, I was there yesterday, and the Petaluma Pete is up and running. That's a new boat that was with various donations came in to help with that, make it happen. But they're also looking for a 4-person boat for families. Some donations there to help them with a 4-person boat. So anyway, that's coming up, but yeah, very involved and lots of things happening right now. So, but it's good weather. Get out to the parks, take a walk.
That's right. Thank you very much. Councilmember Quint.
Thank you. Since our last meeting, I attended the Transit Advisory Committee meeting where we made a recommendation on a resolution authorizing the filing of an application with the MTC for transit assistance funds for the city. I attended the screening of Join or Die at Petaluma Women's Club, and I encourage everyone to find a club and join it. It can change your life in profound ways. Last week, I had the pleasure of attending the Nicole Hannah-Jones lecture on social justice at the Sonoma State University, and I spent a fair amount of time organizing the Keystone annual fundraising event for the Petaluma Valley Little League. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember DeCarli.
Good evening, everyone. So it was said already that I did attend a town hall up in Cloverdale. The city of Cloverdale put that on. That was to discuss the Potter Valley project, which Rabbit covered a little bit. I'm not going to claim to be an expert on it. I'm still learning. It's a pretty complex situation. But I know as much as that, we, Sonoma County and other counties, were built around Potter Valley. It is a major supply for our water. And I think what we're going to need to do going forward is try to find a solution that really makes sure that we have water. And I think part of that is keeping the dam. This morning, went to the Water Advisory Committee meeting. The committee went ahead and they approved the budget to pass it on to the county Board of Supervisors, and that will result in a 0.004 of a cent increase in rates here, which is about a half a cent. Then a couple weeks ago, we had Parks and Rec, where we renamed Center Park downtown to honor the Chinese heritage in Petaluma, so that was pretty neat. And at the same time, too, we received a presentation on Luma Ice. It was brought up, and we're still kind of waiting to see what the numbers are from that, to see how successful it actually was financially or not. But for some reason, we still don't have the numbers. And then Ag and Open Space, John covered that a little bit already. But to add further to it, in our subcommittee, we did discuss, potentially providing grants to older farms to help rehabilitate them, and then also ag education, where Ag and Open Space would partner with people and help, the community to learn more about agriculture.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Now.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In the last 2 weeks, I proudly represented the city as the vice mayor in the mayor's absence. I read a proclamation for a young man who earned an Eagle Scout, the highest rank attainable in the Boy Scouts program, requiring a scout to demonstrate leadership, service, commitment to scouting principles through earning merit badges and completing a significant service project in the community, which was at McNair School. I attended the Sonoma County Homeless Coalition meeting. I learned a great deal about the county's continued work on the homeless and mental health issues. This ongoing situation in our county has numerous obstacles to overcome in the next year, with funding and organizations in jeopardy. Had a hard hat tour with members of the downtown business community and Councilmember Shribs at the Adobe Road Winery and Event Center. Looking forward to this project being completed in the next year. It will attract a lot of tourists to our downtown. I attended the swearing in of 2 new employees of our Petaluma Police Department, attended the Public Safety Advisory Committee meeting, and I can't thank our Petaluma Police Department and Chief enough for keeping our community safe. It was a cloudy and rainy day for the ribbon cutting at the local United States Coast Guard base for their new solar project installation. Took a very educational and impressive tour of the project. Looking forward to Petaluma becoming an official Coast Guard city, thanks to our Petaluma Police Department and staff. The Casa Grande High School and Rotary Club installed a peace pole on the campus last week. The message, "May peace prevail on earth," was read in multiple languages by Casa Grande students. We all recited the pledge together. And I really recommend you checking out the peace pole, going on the QR code link, and it has the pledge. And I'm very impressed with the high school students. Coming up this weekend is our Transhumanist Festival, which is the beginning of our sheep herding down to the River Park, which will then, the McNair Peninsula Park, which will then the sheep will graze and cut down the grass there. And at noon on Saturday, after this event at the fairgrounds and the sheep herding, go to the Petaluma Museum for our History Week, the reunion of all our good eggs, including myself, and meet the newest member of our Good Egg Pack. And I want to do a shout out to my father, Ray Peterson. Happy 87th birthday, Dad. And I'm here at City Hall instead of Wild Goat Bistro enjoying, celebrating your birthday. Thank you.
And thank you, Council Member Cater Thompson.
Yeah, well, happy birthday, Mr. Peterson. Maybe we'll go down there after, Karen. I just want to thank our dispatchers for the work they do, and it's really a hard job. People don't realize it, and last night I had to call them. I got a call around 7:10 from some residents, actually a text and an email about noise at the fairgrounds. So immediately got in the car, went down there, and then I met Officer Rivera there, and the decimal meter was definitely higher than the permitted number. And I believe there were probably 3 calls before I went down there. And so we just, need to really tighten that up and address it. And I know that the city's on top of it, so there's nothing that I need to do at this point. And then I just want to say on April 27th at 10:30 a.m. at the North Corona Smart Station, the new Smart Path to Pengrove will be dedicated and then opened. And so if you ride a bike, you can ride your bike to Pengrove, or you can walk, or just go down there and celebrate the opening of the pathway. And on June 13th at 2 p.m., the Windsor Smart Station ribbon cutting will happen. And so it'll be easy to get on the SMART train and go up to Windsor and celebrate. And then next is Windsor, and then Cloverdale after that. And so this has been a long time in the making, and just even getting to Windsor it's great. I also was at the Coast Guard ribbon cutting for their new solar field and electrical dedication. It was really interesting, and I was able to ask a lot of questions and really understand, the process and the difference between the plants that are not so safe compared to this plant, which is very safe, for this system that's safe. And so I think that was really positive. And I also attended the WAC special meeting this morning. And with that, I'm going to, I was actually at the Petaluma Groundwater Sustainability, the GSA meeting, and there's really nothing to report. We're just still moving forward with, well testing. It's really to see how much water is being depleted out of our aquifer. And so Petaluma is in better shape than I believe Santa Rosa and Sonoma, but there's still depletion in there. And then we talked about how to do recharge and how recharge really works actually for the difference between Santa Rosa and Petaluma, because they're really different systems and how you do recharge. Even though we've had a lot of rain, that water is kind of stored for use, and that water is not really used for recharge. It's kind of 2 different uses. And let's see, I went to the SCTA Bike and Ped Committee meeting. I carpooled with Marja Tar, and I went because I just wanted to listen and learn. And I had not been to one of those meetings, and I am a director on the SCTA, so I think it's a good idea to go to those meetings and just listen and just listen. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Barnacle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate Supervisor Rabbit coming in and giving his overview. First week of the month is always busy for me. I had a planning commission meeting where we heard the Petaluma River Parks proposal, and we gave feedback on that with the Historic and Preservation Committee. I had a Bay Area Air Quality Management District meeting. Most notable thing coming from that was a presentation on what we can expect over the next 4 years with respect to air quality from the federal administration. And I had a Sonoma Clean Power Board meeting where we got a presentation on our peak load management programs. It's pretty impressive that small actions from residents across the county are basically able to wipe off the equivalent of like 5,000 homes on a moment's notice to help keep the lights on, and that about 30% of the customers are low-income customers. and therefore, like, obviously reaping the benefits of the programs. I was invited to participate in the Petaluma Chamber of Commerce's Government Affairs Committee. We had a nice conversation about the trends that we're seeing across the county with respect to flattening revenues, aging population, things like that, and appreciated them. And I definitely would like to see us look into the Zinsco panel issue and make sure that we're addressing that. I'd also appreciate an update on the RNG plant if we have that available. If not, we can follow up afterwards. But that was definitely piqued my interest as well. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm hoping we have an update on the Zinsco panels too. And just want to shout out all the efforts on the peace polls from our school district and Rotary and that diehard group of Vietnam vets who are driving this and getting a poll installed at every school in the county. I think we're halfway through the schools in Petaluma. We'll do Mary Collins at Cherry Valley coming week. It's a great connection for the kids to understand history and the power of what those vets are talking about. So I'm excited about that. I'm also speaking at the National Association of Letter Carriers and Post Office this weekend. It's the beginning of their food drive. They'll be doing a food drive through the community for the next month, and I hope you'll be able to assist them in hitting their goals. There's just so much food insecurity. I also attended the grand opening of Living Unlimited, which is a home for neurodivergent young people located at a farm right on the edge of town here. And 2 particular points. It's just so apparent what the need is to help in this area, and that the need is so much higher than the capacity we have, and that this kind of work, opening this facility, can only be done by folks with true passion and care for their fellow human beings. I also want to give a shout out to the Casa Grande United Anglers group this year. They've extended their restoration work and all the way up into Lafferty Ranch on Adobe Creek there. And if you haven't hiked Lafferty, it's a gem. I recommend it to everyone. But thanks again to the Casa Grande students. And also, Sonoma County will be doing a Sonoma Shakeout, an earthquake drill coming up, and it's important that we keep in mind the disasters that we're subject to and not always prepared for. So let's be prepared on that. And I do hope you'll join myself and the Vice Mayor at the opening ceremonies for Butter and Eggs Day this weekend. It'll be at our Carnegie Historical Library and Museum at noontime. And with that, I'd like to pass it on over to our city manager for comments.
Thanks, Mayor, Council, and community. So much happening this month. Our annual recruitment for city committees and commissions opens next Monday, April 14th. We have approximately 30 vacancies among most of our committees and commissions. It's a great way to get involved with your city, and we welcome a diverse range of experience. So all are encouraged to apply. Applications are available on the city's website and are due by 5 p.m. on Thursday, May 29th, so at the end of May. Appointments will be made by the City Council in June for terms to begin July 1st. Additional information can be found on the city's website or by contacting the city clerk's office. We are also honored to announce that the city is a finalist for the All-America City Award that's given by the National Civic Leagues. It's a very prestigious award that they've been giving out for 75 years. We are we're in good company. We're among 20 finalists who have distinguished themselves through their commitment to strengthening environmental sustainability, inclusive community engagement, to create lasting, impactful solutions. Finalists were chosen through a competitive review process led by an independent panel of experts, with each application evaluated on the criteria of shared vision, civic engagement, inclusiveness, and equity, collaboration, innovation, and impact. We will now begin preparing for the next stage of our competition, attending an event in Denver from June 27th through 29th, where we will present our stories of success and showcase the impact of our initiatives. So we're looking forward to that competition. And thank you, Vice Mayor, now for mentioning our annual herding of the sheep. Just for a reminder, it starts at the Petaluma Fairgrounds starting at 9 a.m. and we will be providing free breakfast burritos and coffee. And the sheep herding begins at 10:30 and will culminate at Steamer's Landing at 11 a.m. and go to 2 p.m. In addition, this Saturday also at the fairgrounds is the Petaluma Sunrise Rotary's Great Petaluma Egg Hunt from 10 a.m. to noon, so they can still make it to the museum at noon. Rain or shine, free for children 12 and under, and food prizes, activities, and the Easter Bunny will be in attendance. And then finally, the city's draft active transportation plan. It's our action plan for all things related to biking, walking, and rolling is available for public comment. And on our website, the plan proposes dozens of action items and a vision for a bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure to make Petaluma a world-class active living city where walking, biking, and rolling are a celebrated part of everyday life. Community members may view the draft plan on our website, cityofpetaluma.org/ATP. So that's Active Transportation Plan, but if you just look up Active Transportation, it will pull it up. And you can provide comments on the plan by attending any of the 3 public meetings, which I'll announce here shortly, or submit written comments via the project webpage. The 3 meetings that are coming up are Tuesday, April 8th, tomorrow, at City Hall at the Planning Commission, and a joint meeting of the Planning Commission and PBAC, our Pedestrian Bicycle Advisory Committee. Tuesday, April 15th, also at City Hall with the Transit Advisory Committee, and then Monday, April 21st, here at City Council at 6 p.m. And that concludes, and I just want to follow up. Amy, thank you for showing up. It sounds like we wrote the letter, so thank you for your advocacy, appreciate it. Resolved.
Regarding the panels.
Regarding the panels, yep.
Not resolved, but that one person's resolved.
But we will work on a policy. But we got the letter, so, yep.
That's great when we're responsive to the public and,
Yep.
and,
And we
can,
appreciate
can
the
build a
advocacy.
program on top of an
Yep.
individual. Thank you very much. Lots going on all around the city here. That brings us to our consent calendar for the evening. And I'd like to ask the council if anyone has a specific question on the consent calendar. Not seeing any questions. I'm going to open the public comment period on the consent calendar. The public is invited to make a comment on the listed items. And again, limited to 3 minutes. And I'll ask the clerk to read the messaging.
Yes, we did not receive any public comments ahead of time, but members of the public attending in person should bring their speaker cards to the clerk's desk if they have not already done so. Speakers are reminded to be respectful in their comments and that this meeting is being translated. Please pause between sentences for translation. We do have one card.
Good evening, Council. Once again, I'm...
In a minute, we'll open the public comment.
Oh, it's not open? Okay.
So we're kind of giving everybody a chance to clear the room who wants to clear the room. And so this is conversation on the consent calendar. And so I ask you to keep your comments directly related to the items that are on the consent calendar. It's not general public comment. And we have one speaker tonight, Adina Flores. And clerk, can we set the clock? Thank you. And you may begin.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, Council. I'm asking for clarification once again per the minutes. I unfortunately was not able to attend the last meeting regarding the zoning amendments in relation to the overlay, and I did see that Councilmember DeCarly recused himself.
I have to interrupt for a heartbeat here just to ask, can you connect your comments to the consent calendar?
Yes, this was in the minutes, so I'm
You're asking about the
reiterating.
minutes.
Yes.
Got it.
Yes. So per the minutes, Councilmember DeCarly recused himself with the overlay discussions. However, there are conversations taking place right now to determine whether a potential conflict of interest existed in relation to Councilman Barnacle. So I'd like to ask for the record where that stands, because the FPPC asked for an extension today. And I did have a chance to go back through and listen to the commenters and reflect on the minutes. And I would like to reiterate 100%. It was upsetting to me that friends of Councilman Barnacle commented to state that the only people with an issue regarding the overlay zoning amendments are elderly white people. This has nothing to do with race. Absolutely nothing. I'm biracial. Please do not make it about race. It's nothing to do with race. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you. And that closes public comment on the item for the evening.
Mr. Mayor, if you'd like, I can briefly respond to that question. If not, that's fine.
I know. I think it speaks for itself.
Okay.
I'm happy
Thank you.
without the attorney's interpretation tonight. And I'd like to bring it back up to council, and I think I'm looking for a motion for the approval of consent calendar.
Make the motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion from Cater Thompson and a second from the Vice Mayor. And any last, then let's maybe have the roll call vote.
Barnacle?
Aye.
Cater Thompson?
Yes.
DeCarly?
Yes.
Now?
Yes.
Quint?
Yes.
Shribs?
Yes.
McDonald?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. And that moves us through to our public hearings and matters for consideration tonight. And we have the ever-popular resolution recommending appointments to the Mayors and Councils Association to fill vacancies. And I'd like to ask our clerk to walk us through this.
Yes, absolutely. Good evening, Mayor and Council. As you know, the Mayor and Council Members Association of Sonoma County fills vacancies on various local or regional boards or commissions when the terms of office expire or upon resignations. So there are currently 6 vacant seats on 3 bodies. The full list of vacancies is available in the packet, as are the calls for letters, or the call for letters of interest came to a close on March 14th, and the letters are also included in the packet. Tonight, we're asking council to recommend appointments for the vacancies, which Mayor McDonald or his designee will vote on at the upcoming April 10th MCA meeting. So following any council questions and public comment, of course, I'll have a presentation showing the vacancies and applicants, and we can go through each one to determine council's recommendation. Thank you.
Do we have any questions regarding the processing? I think it's follow the process we used on the last round of these ones. Okay, Councilmember DeCarli?
Do we want to have a backup in case for some reason somebody drops out in the final minutes?
I think we should discuss it. If you have something specific in mind, or a concern.
No, not really. I'm just, when you go to make the recommendation, do we have a backup plan in case the unknown?
Generally, the commitment is to vote for the recommended person in the first round balloting, and then find out where it lays at the end of that. So, no other questions. Let's go to public comment. We do have public comment on this. And will you please read the messaging, Madam Clerk?
Yes, we did not receive any comments. Oh, we did, actually. We received one public comment ahead of time on this. And now members of the public attending in person should bring their speaker cards to the clerk's desk if they have not already done so. Speakers are reminded to be respectful in their comments and that this meeting is being translated. Please pause between sentences for translation.
And not seeing anyone rushing up, we will close public comment on this, bring it back to council. And at this point, we'll have a voting round. And what are the offices we're looking at here? We have a...
Let me bring up the
PowerPoint.
Okay. So the first one is going to be Measure H Oversight Committee, and there are 2 seats available for this.
And they're equal seats?
These 2 are equal, correct.
And we'll just ask each council member to make their vote, and we'll see where the tally lands at one out of the first round. So that's on you.
Sure.
Paul? Yep, thank you.
So please vote for 2. Barnacle?
Lowe and Hinton.
Cater Thompson?
Sandra Lowe and Nisa Hinton.
DeCarli?
Lowe and Mitchell.
Now?
Lowe and Mitchell.
Quint?
Lowe and Hinton.
Shribs?
Oprechki and Hinton.
And McDonald?
Okrepke and Hinton.
Okay, so it looks like Sandra Lowe and Hinton.
Have a majority vote each.
Correct. I'm reading that right. Okay.
Thank you. And we have our candidates there.
Okay. The next vacancies are on the North Bay Division LOCC Executive Board. These two seats, one is a primary and one is an alternate seat. So I do have 2 slides for this if we wanted to vote first for the primary seat and then for the alternate.
That sounds like a good plan.
Okay. So please vote for 1. This is again for the primary seat. Barnacle?
Cater Thompson?
Cater Thompson?
Cater Thompson?
DeCarly? Oh,
No.
Zolman.
now?
Cater Thompson.
Quint?
Cater Thompson.
Shribs?
Same.
McDonald?
Cater Thompson.
Okay, so for the primary seat, Councilmember Cater Thompson has received the most votes. So now we'll be looking at the alternate seat. Please vote for 1. Barnacle?
Harvey?
Cater Thompson?
Susan Harvey?
DeCarly?
Zolman.
Now?
Harvey.
Quint?
Harvey.
Shribs?
Harvey.
McDonald?
Harvey.
Okay. And the final 2 vacancies are on Sonoma County Agricultural Preservation and Open Space District Citizens Advisory Committee. So there are 2 seats, so please vote for 2. Barnacle?
Shribs and now?
Cater Thompson?
Shribs and now?
DeCarly?
Shribs and now.
Now?
Shribs and now.
Quint?
Shribs and now.
Shribs?
Shribs and now.
And McDonald?
Shribs and now.
Whoops. Maybe we could have done that one by acclaim, but that's okay. Great. Thank you guys so much. So now if you could just make a motion approving
So
the
moved.
resolution with these.
I'll second that.
We have a motion from Barnacle to let the record reflect as you've taken the polling, and a second from Cater Thompson.
Okay.
And now we'll have roll call vote, right?
Barnacle?
Aye.
Cater Thompson?
Yes.
DeCarly?
Yes.
Now?
Yes.
Quint?
Yes.
Shribs?
Yes.
McDonald?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. That moves us on to item 7. Another exciting. It's resolutions ordering abatement of nuisance consisting of hazardous vegetation. And I'd like to invite Jessica Power to help us with a little introduction on the topic.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, city staff, and members of the community. On January 8th, 2024, the City Council adopted the Hazardous Vegetation and Rubbish Growing Upon Public and Private Property Ordinance. This ordinance formally declares that weeds and hazardous vegetation on both public and private parcels constitute a public nuisance and are subject to abatement. Tonight marks the first official council action for the 2025 weed abatement season with a public hearing and resolution ordering the abatement of hazardous vegetation and rubbish. Notices were mailed to the affected property owners informing them of this hearing and their right to participate. This public hearing, along with the adoption of the resolution, satisfies legal requirements that authorize the fire department and its contractor to enter private property to perform weed abatement if the property owner fails to comply. We strongly encourage all property owners to complete their weed abatement responsibilities on their own. City-initiated abatement only occurs when the properties remain out of compliance after the stated deadline of May 31st, 2025. City inspections for non-compliant parcels will begin on or after June 1st, depending on weather conditions, and will continue throughout the season. Thank you.
Thank you. Love the presentation. And do we have any questions from council? And not seeing any questions, please read the public comment and open the public comment period.
Members of the public attending in person should bring their speaker cards to the clerk's desk if they have not already done so. Speakers are reminded to be respectful in their comments and that this meeting is being translated. Please pause between sentences for translation.
Can I ask, did we have any email on this?
We did not on
We
this
did not,
item.
and seeing no one rushing up to greet you, we will close public comment on this, bring it back to council, and there's something of a routine we'll need to follow in tonight's evening, and I think first we'll look for a motion. Let's see, how are we defining that resolution? Who has that resolution number in front of us?
I believe the first one is no recusals.
Yes, okay. And so with that, and assuming there's no questions, may we have a roll call on the no recusals?
Oh, could I get a motion in a second? on that?
We may, we have a Cater Thompson for a motion,
second.
and a second from now.
Okay. Barnacle?
Aye.
Cater Thompson? Yes. DeCarly?
Yes.
Now?
Yes.
Quint?
Yes.
Shribs?
Yes.
McDonald?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. And in this next one, I need to recuse, and I will step out of the room while the vice mayor takes over for us.
So I need a motion.
I'll make the motion.
And
Second.
the motion by Cater Thompson, second by Barnacle. And we'll have a roll call. Vote.
Okay. Barnacle?
Aye.
Cater Thompson?
Yes.
DeCarly?
Yes.
Now?
Yes.
Quint?
Yes.
Shribs?
Yes.
And McDonald recused. Motion carries 6-0.
Did you miss me? Okay, so our next one is with Barnacle recused. And I might add, these recusals are because each of these council people live within the prohibited distance from properties involved in the action. And so with that, okay, we have a motion on this one.
I'll move.
Motion
second that.
Motion by Shribs, second by Cater Thompson.
Barnacle recused. Cater Thompson?
Yes.
DeCarly?
Yes.
Now?
Yes.
Quint?
Yes.
Shribs?
Yes.
McDonald?
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. That moves us to next to Councilmember DeCarli's opportunity and recusal for the same reasons. And I'm looking for a motion for this.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Motion by Shribs and second by Now.
Barnacle?
Aye.
Cater Thompson?
Yes.
DeCarly recused. Now?
Yes.
Quint?
Yes.
Shribs?
Yes.
McDonald?
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now I think I invite Councilmember Shribs to join the parade. Recusal for the same reason. And I'm looking for a motion.
I'll move it.
Motion by Now.
Second.
Second by Barnacle.
Barnacle?
Aye.
Cater Thompson? Yes. DeCarly?
Yes.
Now?
Yes.
Quint?
Yes.
Shribs recused. McDonald?
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. And that concludes that item, moves us on to our next item. Thank you very much. I do want to just note that district elections have occurred, and now we live in a more far-ranging parts of the city, and it's interesting to see how recusals on this topic extend to all parts of the city. Our next item is the public hearing and approval of a resolution approving the issuance of revenue bonds by the California Municipal Finance Authority, and not to exceed $65 million to finance affordable rental housing facility for the benefit of Danco communities in their project Meridian. at Petaluma North Station. That's at 890 North McDowell Boulevard. And to help us with that tonight, Karen Shimizu, Assistant Director of Community Development, and Sarah Wolf, our housing specialist, will lead us in. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, city manager, staff, and community members. The item before you this evening is a public hearing and resolution approving the issuance of revenue bonds by California Municipal Finance Authority, CMFA, for the purpose of financing the acquisition and construction of Meridian at Petaluma North Station, which is a Danco housing project. Next slide, please. What is a TEFRA hearing? It's a mandated public hearing by the IRS to provide an opportunity for the public to express their views on the issuance of tax-exempt bonds and to inform the public that the bonds are being used for a qualified purpose. The hearing is not an approval of any other aspect of the project. In this TEFRA hearing, the developer Danco Housing requested that CMFA issue up to $65 million of bonds for financing the acquisition, construction, and improvement of Meridian at Petaluma North Station, 131 unit multifamily affordable housing development. CMFA cannot issue bonds until a public hearing is conducted by the jurisdiction where the development is located. The city will not incur any financial obligation in connection with financing of these bonds. Next slide, please. So a little bit about the project. The proposed development consists of 7 buildings, 6 of which are 3 stories, and 1 4-story building with an elevator on a 5.29 acre parcel. The site plan maximizes open green space and distance away from the SMART train along the north side of the property. Many considerations were taken in design to create a functional and highly energy efficient project, including being 100% all electric in alignment with Petaluma's carbon neutrality goals. Details include 33 supportive housing units, 20 ground floor ADA compatible units. All the units are deed restricted between 20 and 60% area median income. So for the 2024 AMI chart, for an example, a person earning up to $13,500 would qualify for a studio, while a family of 4 could earn up to $69,150. Next slide, please. All right, so thank you for the opportunity to bring this item before you. The action requested is to conduct a public hearing, receive comments, and after the hearing we ask council to consider adopting a resolution approving the issuance bonds, revenue bonds by CMFA for the benefit of Danco Housing for this Meridian at Petaluma North Station project. Attending via Zoom, we have Mackenzie Dibble, the project manager for Danco Housing, and Ben Barker from CMFA in the audience, who will be standing by to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Fabulous. Can't wait for this housing to get going. Any questions from the council? I did have one, if I could. I'm concerned about the market, things going on we're seeing. Can you broadly talk about when these will be actually issued and what kind of terms we typically see for this, both a rate and a payment schedule type thing? Just a quick comment on that.
I'd like to invite Ben Barker up to address that. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Ben Barker with the California Municipal Finance Authority. So the anticipated issuance would probably be about 2 months from now. There's a few other things that need to happen besides just the TEFRA hearing. There's a number of further approvals, and then the closing calls start. So essentially, this is just a private mortgage with the interest rate is going to be tax exempt. And so depending on the project and the underwriting, the rates have roughly been mid-4s to mid-5s, and that'll be obviously dictated by the market. The higher the rate, the longer out the maturity will go. If the rate comes in lower, then the maturity could be shorter, but typically these maturities are roughly 30 years as a typical mortgage on a property would be.
That's fabulous. That's exactly the kind of info I was looking for. Thank you very much. Yeah. Councilmember Shribs?
Just a question on the quantity. So 65 million. Is that going to be enough for the to build the entire site, or is that's just a partial and where the other monies might be coming from?
Yeah, so that's just the tax exempt portion. So the IRS tax code dictates that whenever there's tax exempt financing done, you have to do a TEFRA hearing for the tax exempt portion. So that's the not to exceed amount for just the tax exempt bonds. There will be tax credits in the project, and there will also be recycled bonds into the project, a few other gap financing. So that's just the tax exempt portion.
Thank you very much. No other questions. We open public comment on this item. And again, not seeing anyone rushing to have questions on this item. We'll close the public comment period and bring it back to council.
I'll move the item happily.
Second that.
So a motion by Barnacle and a second by Cater Thompson. And a roll call vote, please.
Barnacle?
Aye.
Cater
Yeah.
Thompson?
Yes.
DeCarly?
Yes.
Now?
Yes.
Quint?
Yes.
Shribs?
Yes.
McDonald?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Well, thank you very much. Love it when housing gets through the council quickly. So then we have another public hearing on a similar project. This one is for the benefit of Pacific Associates, a partnership with Pacific West Communities for the Rovina Lane project located at number 2 Rovina Lane. And again, if you would take that away.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. As you said, next on the agenda is a public hearing and resolution approving the issuance of revenue bonds by CMFA for the purpose of financing the acquisition, construction of Rovina Lane Apartments, another affordable housing development. Next slide, please. So again, the TEFRA hearing is mandated to provide an opportunity for the public to express their views on the issuance of the tax-exempt bonds. And it's not an approval of any other aspect. The developer, Petaluma Pacific Associates, requested that CMFA issue up to $25 million of bonds for financing the acquisition, construction, and improvement of Rovina Lane, which is a 32-unit multifamily affordable housing development. CMFA cannot issue the bonds until a public hearing is conducted where the jurisdiction is located, and the city, again, will not incur any financial obligation in connection with these bonds. Next slide, please. So some project specifics. This development consists of 2 3-story multifamily residential buildings on a 1-acre site. The chart displays a breakdown of unit types, 32 total, 31 of which are deed restricted affordable to community members earning between 50 and 80% area median income. So in this case, a single person earning up to $29,050 would qualify for a 1-bedroom, while a family of 4 could earn up to $110,700. We would also just like to highlight that staff became aware that this is actually an all-electric project after the staff report was published. So this does align with the city's broader goals of carbon neutrality. Next slide, please. So again, the action requested is to hold a public hearing and receive comments and consider adopting a resolution approving the issuance of revenue bonds by CMFA for the benefit of Petaluma Pacific Associates LP for Rovina Lane. And we have Lauren Alexander attending via Zoom of the Armory Companies, who represents the developer Pacific Associates, and Ben Barker, as you know, is here.
Thank you. Great presentation. Questions? Questions, Councilmember Shribs?
Yes, there was a little bit of concerns by the local residents right there as it was being developed. First off, it was nice to see that it's all electric. I think there was a gas versus electricity issue that seemed to have been resolved. The other resolution concerns was access, fire access coming in and out, being that it's limited, and also just a matter of the transportation of the folks moving in and out, and then either how quickly can we have access actually to Rovina Lane all the way down to Petaluma Boulevard. So if there's like a private driveway there, if any negotiations were being done to kind of open that up or not. So there's access in both directions to the boulevard and then up and around up the hill. So is there any progress and what's the current status with the project? Are we moving forward? Is everything going according to plan?
Thank you, Councilmember, for that question. I'm going to answer one part of it and then ask Lauren Alexander to fill you in on some of the other details regarding the access. The project is actually in the final stages of getting ready for its building permit to be finalized. They anticipate closing their construction financing probably in late May of this year and then starting construction on the project. They anticipate the project would be ready for occupancy probably in January of 2027. And I will go ahead. Lauren, I believe you're in the audience. Is she on there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, great. Okay, I'll let you answer the rest of those questions. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I believe the question was about negotiations with the neighbors to open up the private portion of Rovina Lane to allow vehicular access through the neighborhood out to Petaluma Boulevard South. That is not currently something that the neighbors are agreeing to do. So that portion that's private of Rovina Lane will remain private. And we have agreed not to use the majority of it for vehicular access. So the residents of this community will not be using that to access Petaluma Boulevard South either.
Good. And any concerns for the fire department or the traffic coming up the hill with the neighbors? I know there was just concerns there. Has that ever been resolved with public meetings and such?
We have gotten full approvals from the fire department on from that perspective. The private portion of Rovina Lane can be used for emergency vehicle access. So that will be available to fire should there be an emergency where they need to access from Petaluma Boulevard South directly. Otherwise, the fire department has signed off on all of our design.
Okay, just so I got that right. So the fire department could come up Rovina Lane for emergency purposes?
Correct.
Okay, good. Thank you. That's what I wanted to just double check on that. We did have access for emergency, fire, and police coming up that lane, at least that. Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. And did both of these projects go through as SB 35 or 330?
The Pacific Communities project went through SB 330, and the Danco project was AB 2162.
Okay. Thank you very much. And with that, I'd like to open the public comment on this item. And not seeing a rush to the counter, close public comment on this item and bring it back to council. Councilmember DeCarli.
Well, I would like to say that I do take some issue with, this project. It is in my district, and I know there's been a lot of concerned residents over there in the Corey Heights area. And, part of the concern is that, as the mayor just mentioned, they did use state laws to push it through. They skirted some of the regular process here. And, I don't think that's right. And so to reward them with something that's tax-free is not something I agree with.
Thank you. And I thought I'd note one other comment. I think our average over the last 5 years has been about 110 units of housing per year, including our affordables, including Montero, including the tiny houses at Cotts. So you can imagine that the 110 is really not a whole lot of new housing for new people. And here tonight, we're looking at providing a start for over 160 units. So, that's a pretty good day in our housing world. Councilmember Barnacle?
Yeah, I'll just remind us too that the 44 units that was on Petaluma Boulevard North, someone backfeeding, we had 44 units, and in the first month had 1,200 applications. So in terms of who we're supporting, I'm going to stand, in support of the people who currently are looking for housing here, that are serving us our food, that are bagging our groceries, that are powering our economy, and try and give them an affordable place to live. So I'm happy to support this and move the item.
Did that come in the form of a motion?
It did.
It did, and I'm looking for a second.
Think of that.
A second from Cater Thompson. And a roll call vote, please.
Barnacle?
Aye.
Cater Thompson? Yes. DeCarly?
No.
Now?
Yes.
Quint?
Yes.
Tribs?
Yes.
McDonald?
Yes.
Motion carries 6 to 1.
Thank you very much, and appreciate your presence here tonight. That moves us to our item 10, which is to receive and review the 2024 Independent Police Auditor Annual Report covering the period January 2024 to December 2024, and also the 2025 Independent Police Auditor Work Plan. And we have quite a crew coming forward, and I'd like to turn it over to Chief Brian Miller.
Yeah, good evening, Mayor and council members. I'm going to let my staff get settled real quick, but this is definitely a collective effort. So I'm your Police Chief, Brian Miller. My Deputy Chief, Nick McGowan's in attendance tonight. Our Professional Standards Lieutenant, Garrett Claviano, who you've met before, is at staff table, joined by our Independent Police Auditor, Jeff Schlanger, who's going to be presenting his report this evening. He's accompanied by his staff, Denise Lewis. And this really essentially consists of one of our collective groups that we meet weekly. And so this is our professional standards team that's discussing the components and the incidents that are occurring within our community and involving the Police Department of Public Interest. And so while it's not my report, it's reflective of our organization and the high caliber of staff and the performance that they're executing on a daily basis. And I'm really pleased and proud of the complementary body of work. I think you're going to hear components of the annual report that go into depth regarding the incidents, the incident types, the methodology in which we've applied of how we're reviewing those incidents. That's a testament to Jeff's application and his oversight model that he's implemented with us. But we have a really young police department. We're seeing really, really remarkable outcomes, and I'm pleased to turn it over at this time to our Independent Police Auditor from IntegraSure, Jeff Schlanger. Jeff.
Thanks very much, Chief. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, and members of the community, or member of the community. My name is Jeff Schlanger. I'm honored to serve as Petaluma's Independent Police Auditor. I'm joined this evening by my colleague, Denise Lewis. She serves as Deputy IPA, and together we lead the oversight work conducted through IntegraSure, the firm that was selected by this council to provide independent police auditing services. We very much appreciate the opportunity to appear before you tonight to present an overview of our annual report covering the 2024 calendar year. Our role is to provide independent, professional insight into the Petaluma Police Department's operations to promote best practices and to help ensure transparency, accountability, and continuous improvement in public safety. I want to begin by congratulating the City Council for establishing this oversight model proactively. It was not in response to any specific crisis, but a forward-looking effort to enhance public trust. And most importantly, we offer our sincere thanks to the command staff and the women and men of the Petaluma Police Department whose full cooperation and active engagement have made this model a true partnership. We're about 12 days away from our 2-year anniversary here in Petaluma, and this last year has had 2 very significant changes. First, the change in leadership in the department with Chief Brian Miller assuming the helm, and second, the actual implementation of the PSAC. These are both milestones in the history of PPD. While I will get into some specifics with respect to our work over the last year, the headline is that you all should be very, very proud of your police department. It is truly a learning organization, interested in continually improving and operating on best practice principles. This presentation is meant to be an overview of our annual report, and I commend that annual report to everyone's attention for further details. If we can move to the next slide, please. So just a brief background of how we got here. As I mentioned, the City Council selected IntegraSure in April of 2023 to serve as the city's first independent police auditor. Our work is directed by the city manager pursuant to a formal scope of work and a contractual agreement. From the outset, our office has been grounded in a philosophy of collaborative oversight. That is, identifying areas for growth and improvement, not in isolation, but through open dialogue with the department and city leadership. Our approach combines professional independence with sustained engagement to foster progress. Let's go on to the next slide, please. The goals of our oversight model are really fourfold. First is to instill a philosophy of continuous improvement within the police department, and I think they had that when we came, and we have fostered even greater adherence to that philosophy. Second, it is to help facilitate trust between the department and all Petaluma communities. Third, it is to support a culture in which police operations reflect community values. And finally, it is meant to provide assurance to you as elected officials and to the public that the department is operating in alignment with best practices. These aren't abstract goals. They guide every review we conduct, every recommendation we make, and every interaction we have with the PPD. Next slide, please. Let's talk about the functional role of the IPA, and the responsibilities of our office are wide-ranging, but they're interconnected. They include reviewing departmental policies and training, evaluating operational incidents, including uses of force, pursuits, complaints, all for timeliness, fairness, and adherence to policy. Supporting the PSAC, the Public Safety Advisory Committee, as part of the city's hybrid oversight structure, and of course, reporting to the council and to the community through detailed public reports, such as the one that we are discussing this evening. Next slide, please. One critical component of our work is the review of departmental policies and training materials. These reviews take place both in response to observations that we make from the incidents that we review and as proactive evaluations of whether existing policies conform to evolving best practices in the field of policing. We work closely with the command staff and the city attorney's office to ensure that our recommendations are considered, discussed, and implemented. Next slide, please. In 2024, we reviewed and provided recommendations on several foundational policies, including the department's vehicular pursuits policy, the policy governing the use of the RAP restraint device, de-escalation and use of force policy, and the body-worn camera policy. In addition, we reviewed and contributed to the department's training plan for 2025. All of these reviews, again, were collaborative and reflect a strong shared commitment to safety, professionalism, and accountability. Next slide, please. The heart of our work lies in the review and assessment of operational incidents. These incidents include uses of force, displays of force, pursuits, and complaints. Each incident is reviewed through what we call a 360-degree lens, a 360-degree review, which evaluates the actions taken not just for the legality and policy compliance, but also for tactical soundness, professionalism, and the potential for improved outcomes. Our reviews are discussed in weekly meetings with the command staff and the city attorney representative. We talk about our reviews and potential areas for improvement. We talk about the internal supervisory reviews of those incidents and the remediations which have already taken place before our review. And finally, we talk about our recommendations beyond those made by supervisors, and we come up with what we call an agreed upon course of action, an ACA, which outlines any additional steps which the department will undertake in order to remediate any actions that we have seen that need remediation or improvement. These ACAs are then documented and tracked for compliance. Next slide, please. This slide provides an overview of the incidents that we assessed in 2024. In total, we reviewed 41 use of force incidents. By the way, these totals may not jive exactly with the date of occurrence. Some of these occurred in 2023, and some incidents that occurred in 2024 were not reviewed until 2025. So 41 use of force incidents, 20 displays of force incidents, 12 pursuits, and 47 complaints. From these reviews, we issued 56 specific recommendations. Importantly, we did not find in 2024 any incidents to be out of policy. In each case where we made a recommendation, it was to help improve outcomes, whether through better communication, better tactics, or better training, not to address violations of law or policy. Again, each recommendation was discussed with the department, and in every instance, we achieved consensus on an ACA, often in the form of mentoring, coaching, or policy refinement. Next slide, please. In our review of complaints, again, there were 47 complaints, and we agreed with the department's disposition in every one of those incidents or cases. We did, however, issue 8 recommendations which related to aspects of the complaint investigations that we believed could be strengthened, such as documentation practices, communication strategies, or the handling of property. These, of course, were shared and discussed with command staff, and agreed upon courses of action, or ACAs, came out of these as well. Next slide, please. Obviously, the use of force and the display of force is a key area that we focus on. But I thought it might be helpful to put these uses of force into perspective for you. In 2024, officers responded to a total of 58,351 calls for service, which was down approximately 5.5% since 2023. The department made 1,693 arrests, which was a decrease of 17.7% from the year before. There were a total of 75 uses or displays of force, which represents approximately 0.13% of the calls for service. And this is a reduction from 0.2% in 2023. Of the 75 total uses or displays of force, 48 incidents, or 64%, involved an actual application, that is, a use of force. Thus, less than 0.08% of calls for service resulted in an actual application of force, with force being utilized in approximately 2.83% of all arrests made by PPD officers. No use of force in 2024 resulted in a serious injury. While the trend of these numbers is encouraging, and all displays and actual uses of force were consistent with policy, we did see opportunities for improvement in a number of incidents. In the use of force cases we reviewed, we issued 25 recommendations focused on areas such as de-escalation, better use of equipment, and better communication between officers and between officers and subjects. In display of force incidents, we issued 14 recommendations along similar lines. Again, every recommendation was reviewed with department leadership, and in each case, a remediation plan was adopted. Let's move on to the next slide, please. Pursuits. Though relatively infrequent, pursuits carry a significant risk. In 2024, we reviewed 12 pursuits and made 9 recommendations. We focused on issues of tactical safety, justification for initiating pursuits in the first instance, supervisory oversight of those pursuits, and the role of less lethal options in pursuits. We're working closely with the department on potential further revisions to the pursuit policy that incorporate lessons learned from these reviews. In pursuits, there is always a delicate balance that needs to be struck between the need to enforce the law and the need to protect the community, officers, and subjects of potential pursuits. Next slide, please. We conducted an analysis of RIPA data. RIPA stands for Racial and Identity Profiling Act, and we did that for both 2023 and 2024 data and presented our graphical and tabular depiction of the data in Appendix E to our report. High-level takeaways from that report are that reported stops decreased significantly from 2023 to 2024, from 10,889 in 23 to 9,510 in 2024, a reduction of more than 12%. While some disparities were identified in stop data, we found no evidence of biased policing in any incident which we qualitatively reviewed. It is important to note that disparities do not equal bias, although bias is one of the myriad of reasons that might cause disparities. The graphs and tables, again, are included in Appendix E of our annual report for your review. Next slide, please. In July, we conducted what we call a detailed analysis of tour activity, or data audit, examining a 2-day snapshot of routine patrol activity, essentially a day in the life or 2 days in the life of the Petaluma Police Department. We do this to essentially fill in the gap of the types of cases that we are looking at normally during the year and those that we don't normally look at. So for this analysis, we looked at the routine activities of officers. We found that officers acted professionally and appropriately in every case. However, we did identify an issue of underreporting, that is, that a RIPA report was not being completed for each instance in which it was required. We brought this to the department's attention, and we understand that that issue is now being addressed. This proactive audit is one way that we ensure that all facets of policing, not just the uses of force and pursuits and complaints that we review on a weekly basis, that all areas of policing are aligned with best practices. Next slide, please. Just our 2025 work plan relative to RIPA data. We will again be looking at the RIPA data, comparing it with 2024 as we did between 24 and 23 in order to determine whether there are any differences and whether any patterns might exist which might require additional examination. Next slide, please. In addition, it's our plan in 2025 to conduct 2 data audits, which I just described. We are going to continue our 360-degree reviews of use of force, pursuits, and complaints. We're going to monitor the implementation of those AUCAs, the recommendations that we agree upon, and we are going to continue our regular engagement with PPD leadership to ensure that the oversight process remains dynamic and constructive. Next slide, please. As I mentioned earlier, and as I'm sure everyone is aware, the Public Safety Advisory Committee was in fact constituted this year, and we have been providing training, policy guidance, and reporting of our findings to that committee. The committee is obviously a critical element of the hybrid oversight structure, and we commend again the Council for supporting its establishment and its continued development. Next slide, please. Finally, we take extremely seriously our obligation to report not just to this body, but to the community we serve. Our reports, including this annual report, are available on our public website and I believe on your website and the police department website as well. And they are meant to inform and to invite engagement from residents who we know care deeply about public safety and equity in policing. In closing, let me reiterate our appreciation to the Council for establishing this oversight function. I think it's a model of what should be happening in every city that has its own police department. And to the officers and leadership of the Petaluma Police Department, I want to thank you for your openness, your professionalism, and your willing to partner with us in a process that we all believe strengthens the department and builds community trust. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Well, thank you very much. It's a great report, and I'm glad we're into our second year already of these. And I'm glad you came back to the Public Safety Committee twice and honed it in. I had a chance to watch that, and I think that's a very engaged body to help you out with that. And questions from up here, Councilmember Shribs?
It's really good that we're evaluating incidences and complaints and like and handling all that. So I thought, is there a way for the scope of what's being done and reviewed? There's 2 areas that I'm concerned with in the near future, that changes that we're going to see here in our city that concerns the police department and actions that may be forthcoming from that. One is cannabis retail. We're having 3 new facilities that are going to be coming up fairly shortly, being set in place. So the permitting process, I know there's pretty good involvement with the police in figuring out where and how things are going to be set up. So getting advice from what's happening in other cities and bringing the best practices for that here is one area. Can we get that type of advice? And then the second one is, I remember seeing, I think it was in our city, where you have a teenager kind of scooting around on a very fast-powered e-bike, which is becoming more and more common. I'm hearing and seeing a lot more teenagers that have higher-powered machines, single, 2-wheel, 4-wheel, whatever, but these independent machines that are much faster and can scoot around and hide and do things. So, and apparently there was an incident here where, they injured themselves basically by falling down and after the chase. Is there policies or changes in things whether we need to do to help support the police in these 2 areas of how to deal with this issue that's going to be rising probably? I know Marin County has already made some rule changes on their county because of this issue of hospitalizations of teenagers going too fast, causing too many accidents. So are you able to step in and bring best practices from other cities to help us on these 2 issues?
Yeah, I think The answer to that is yes. And we were discussing actually today the problem with the e-bikes and dirt bikes and the problem that they're causing in the city. And again, I mentioned the question of pursuits of teenagers on these kind of motorcycles or e-bikes is obviously something that carries some degree of risk with it. And we talked about the potential use of additional technology. Drone technology is one thing that other jurisdictions are utilizing, so that the drone can actually follow the individual back to his or her place of residence, and you've identified who is there, and you've identified where the offending vehicle is, and the department has the ability to seize that vehicle if, in fact, there was probable cause to issue a citation, as I understand the law here. So technology can play a role. Obviously, technology costs money, and up to the council and the city to allocate the appropriate amount of funding for appropriate technology, which can help in that way. So that's just one example of how we can brainstorm and help on this issue. I'm sorry, go on.
Yeah, the part of that question was not just in the police actions itself, but in actual policies by the city or the county. Are you able to help us? And do you already have good policies in other locations that you could help bring to us, the city council, as setting our policy around the issues about what to do, not just helping the police in their actual immediate actions, which is good that you're doing that. We may need more drones on everybody. Everybody must have one to attach their body somehow, release it like they do in the movies. But that seems to be a future concern. But it's that other part that are you able to help us with?
Yeah, it can certainly, if directed by the city manager, and we can help research the issue with respect to legislation which has been passed in other cities. I'm familiar with a number of cities that have such legislation, so not a difficult task.
Thank you. Councilmember Cater Thompson.
Well, I just want to follow up with, I'm not sure if I want drones following my children home. But 2027, I think the state is going to legislate some language on e-bikes. So I'm not sure if we want to do that before, as a city, but I think if we just wait and see what the state is doing, and then start looking and seeing what other cities are doing, instead of just jumping in and
that's
doing
whatever
an ordinance.
You all decide is fine with me.
Yeah. Well, I'm just bringing this up that this is a direction that the state is planning on going, but it looks like it's 2027.
Yeah, I think part of the issue can be regulated, and perhaps that will have a good effect. The problem is when those regulations are ignored by some, and what do you do in those situations, right? How much risk do you want your police department to undertake in order to enforce those laws? I think that's ultimately a question for the department and for the city manager and for you all.
Well, I think this is also about educating at the school level.
Right.
Yeah, so it's kind of outside
Well,
of this,
I think it's
but-
outside of the report we're dealing with tonight.
Exactly.
In terms of what the policy we set for the future, but you're a great resource for our police department, where I'd expect the policy for any change of enforcement to come from. I think the question I'm more interested in is, do our current pursuit practices adequately direct officers for the trouble that's going on today? Are we doing the best police practicing, given the laws we have, and so we're addressing pursuit?
Well, I know that the chief and command staff and with the city manager are trying to balance, on one hand, the problem which exists with these e-bikes, but on the other hand, the risk that can be, that is undertaken in every pursuit that occurs. And that's a balancing act, right? And different jurisdictions have approached this differently, some restricting pursuits to felonies at the far end of the spectrum. Actually, not only just felonies, but felonies involving violent crimes. And on the other end of the spectrum, there are departments out there that pursue for anything, including traffic violations. And the right balance needs to be struck. Obviously, the sense of the community through you all is what ultimately rules the day.
Right. You know, we mentioned a lot teenagers and things like that, but I think what we're saying is minors in regards to crime. And do our policies, our officers being taught to treat or pursued any differently between a minor and a non-minor? Are we comfortable with the place our policies are in right now that officers have the right tools to do enforcement in this arena?
I think the chief is in a better position to answer that than I am.
Yeah, I think, as Jeff indicated, actually flew in a couple hours ago, and we had a robust conversation about vehicle pursuits and specifically the e-bike conversation. You saw the press release earlier in the week where a 20-year-old adult on an electric dirt bike that's not street legal, flipped off a police officer that was trying to pull him over. He drove through a neighborhood. He drove onto the fairgrounds property. He crashed independently, got up, and as the officers were trying to detain him, picked his bike back up and took off again. And so there was a brief pursuit in that neighborhood. He was arrested. We impounded his bike, and hopefully he doesn't engage in that type of dangerous behavior. To your question, we absolutely, the one thing I appreciate and that we were talking about our policy and the application of that policy is some discretion of the police officers to make reasonable decisions in really short periods of time for dynamically evolving situations. And I think anytime we see a case with a vulnerable community member, elderly, disabled, someone with mental health, someone that is a youth, our approach is different in all those case-by-case examples. And I think our staff do a really good job of differentiating where we can. Now, admittedly, especially for our officers working nighttime, and you will probably ask questions about it, we don't know who or what we are stopping often and have zero awareness to whom is in the car. And those are really difficult decisions. And we do our enforcement activities based on our observations, based on the conduct and the behaviors. And I will leave it at the last comment, which is what I shared with Jeff earlier, is we've heard overwhelmingly from the manager, from our community, from you all about the importance of traffic safety in our community. We continue to see really, really egregious and dangerous driving behaviors, reckless driving, impaired driving, street racing. We had a young individual doing donuts and burnouts on their way home from a high school to an area here on the west side that resulted in an arrest just this week. And we continue to have more people victimized and injured and killed in this community as a result of traffic collisions. And so until that drastically changes, I think it's really important for us to continue to pursue those dangerous driving behaviors that are putting us all at risk and making our community less safe. So we do those with the mindfulness for increasing traffic safety throughout the community, working with our public works partners to do the engineering projects to make the roadways safer, while our enforcement activities are intended to also address those habitual offenders that are not abiding by the rules.
And if I may just add one thing, and that is that, as I mentioned during the presentation, we are reviewing each pursuit incident, and we are making sure that there is appropriate supervisory oversight for each pursuit. That is, somebody who's a lieutenant or a sergeant who's listening on the radio, who's hearing what speed the pursuit is being conducted at, who's hearing the conditions, who knows where this pursuit is being conducted. Is it on the 101 or is it down a residential street? All of these factors need to be considered in making a determination as to whether or not to terminate a pursuit. And the officer has the ability to terminate the pursuit according to criteria which emphasizes the safety of all those involved, and a supervisor has the ability to terminate the pursuit as well. So,
Councilmember Cater-Thompson.
One follow-up, just a little bit different, but on public trails, you know, you have scooters now on public trails, and they're going really fast, and e-bikes. So I'm just, I know that's different than the roads, but how is that handled differently?
Yeah, and maybe Brian can talk to it. I know in other jurisdictions, electric vehicles are banned from trails. I don't know whether or not the city has the ability to do that here, but that is done in other jurisdictions.
Yeah, I think we're actively working. You know, signage continues to be challenging in any community on what the classification, different trails and pathways have different classifications for the type of e-bikes. We are acutely aware, we're working with our legal partners on reviewing local ordinances like those out of Mill Valley. There's a number of really good policies and ordinances out of Southern California that have boardwalks and beachfront areas that we're looking at those. As the council member indicated, California Police Chiefs is working with state legislators and endorsing some regulations that are coming. So we also want to be mindful of our partners and the workload of implementing something that may be inconsistent or just adopted by state law. In close contemporary is tiny. We also see that more pervasively, the issues that I see are not really e-bikes, or not what are defined as an e-bike. They're essentially electric motorcycles and dirt bikes. They're not street legal whatsoever. They don't have blinkers. They're required to be registered. You need a license. You need a motorcycle M1 endorsement like any other motorcycle rider in the community. They are not allowed to be driven on our roadways. You need a helmet. You can't have two riders. Those things are enforceable with under some of the conditions of the vehicle code currently. As you indicated, and what I think what our focus with the IPA or the relevance to the IPA is, we treat those as vehicles. And so any enforcement activity, if we were to have someone flee in that condition, that is a vehicle pursuit for us. That's something that falls into the purview of the IPA, and they review all those components. And as my deputy chief indicated to me a few minutes ago, I was remiss in reminding, and as Jeff mentioned, we have the autonomy to terminate just as much as we have discretion to initiate, and the supervisors or the redundancy there, they can also terminate these pursuits. But we've had, and we're still waiting and working with the community to try to identify one offender that on 2 occasions has fled from our officers. And in the first situation in the downtown area, our officer terminated the pursuit immediately on its onset without prompting from a supervisor, recognizing the downtown area is challenging, recognizing that it was a minor violation at that time. However, we've seen the behavior escalate. We did a nixle release with the image of that individual, and we're actively working to try to find more investigative ways rather than pursuing them, if we anticipate a pursuit, to hopefully identify them and issue a warrant for their arrest. So, but those are all matters that would qualify and fall into the IPA's purview on reviewing the relevance, the appropriateness, and the application of the law in those type of incidents.
Okay.
I just want to say it's enlightening to have this conversation because it's really complicated.
Right.
So it's not a yes or no.
And I think we're looking at council policing policy of a new territory rather than existing practices for the best performance of officers. I did have a couple of questions. One, you mentioned that RIPA is not always necessary or not a required report at every stop. When is it required and when not?
So it is required for any vehicular stop or investigatory stop.
Yeah, so it's generally required when there's a detention of a person. So
okay.
Not all calls require RIPA.
Right.
But what I was referring to is in our data audit, we identified situations where in fact it was required, but there wasn't reporting as
So
required.
traffic citations, not a RIPA report?
RIPA, yes.
Okay.
Because the traffic violator is detained, it would require a RIPA.
Thank you. I spoke at the high school recently, and that was a concern. They had watched the public safety hearings, and since it came up then it's the most accessible thing to the public, I think, is whether the police do that or not. Calls are down in general for the year. Do we have a reason why calls are down? What was that number, 11% for the year?
Yeah, it would be difficult to offer anything other than anecdotal evidence to why they're down.
Complaints were listed. There was a total complaints listed. How is that year to year? I didn't see that it was compared year to year, total complaints.
We didn't do the comparison, but I can get back to you on that. I apologize.
That would be great. We're into our second year of the auditor and of these practices, and I'm wondering, I was impressed by how much training is going in. It keeps getting repeated what the training effort is, and then previously we'd already worried about what the process time would be for any officer for better practices. It costs you in process time. Do we have a feel for how we're doing on that? How much have we increased training time in per officer budget, that kind of thing? Or do we have this allowable in prior years?
Yeah, I would say it's relatively consistent. I think what changes with the process is the interactions outside of these reviews. So the review is comprehensive in a sense that the supervisor, where historically they would be looking at use of forces in a very focused way, is now looking at this 360-degree criteria that the IPA has brought to us, which has been very valuable. So that's increasing the number of interactions that the supervisors are having with their officers in terms of coaching, counseling, and mentoring. So from a high level, are we doing more training? We probably are doing more, but I think where we're seeing the greatest impact is those lower level coaching sessions that are yielding a great benefit to the agency and the city.
Thank you. That's great. Councilmember Barnacle.
Thank you, and apologies for not getting my questions in ahead of time. Thanks for the report. The first question I have is just the number of officers that have less than 5 years of experience in the department, or roughly thereof.
57, I'm hearing.
57, great. And do we know about what percentage of the staff that is? Is that roughly?
We're authorized for 70 positions. So
a lot of people that are under 5 years of experience. And then do we know the percent of the recommendations that you made were for an officer that had less than 5 years of experience?
I don't have that data, but I will say this, that in my experience, one of the best ways to teach new officers is exactly through the process that we're employing here, is by pointing out the little mistakes before they become big mistakes and have them work on those. It's really an extension of the field training that they receive from a field training officer. But this extends throughout their lifetime as an officer. That's what we've instituted.
For sure.
For context too, we have 69 allocated positions. That's including myself to the academy recruits. So when you talk 57 and you have members of my command staff here, most of our staff almost our entirety of our patrol division is in that qualifying age group that you were discussing. So those recommendations are generally for those junior tenured officers, which I also think when you come back to the policy conversation and the recommendations and the low level of application of force, what we generally do see is our junior officers have more challenging interactions with members of the community. They're more often prone to escalating situations or getting involved in uses of force. So I think that 2.8% rate in which force was applied during our arrest interactions is still a really, really low. And that's showing that we're generally able to articulate and get voluntary compliance or use the lowest level of force possible.
Thank you. You answered one of my questions there. Next question: do we track the I'm thinking calls for service on Friday and Saturday nights, right? Downtown drinking, like the number of, calls for service, use of force where it involves people that are inebriated or, on some sort of substance.
Yeah, we definitely have the ability to do that. I don't have that information for you at this time.
Got you.
Yeah.
And then I guess the rest of it is just comments for now. Well, so in general, I'll point over to Jim Duffy's comments. In general, I appreciate Jim Duffy's comments. Usually he's informed and asks good questions. The questions that he asked in his comments that stood out to me were around not completing the RIPA and extrapolating this out, over 1,000 incidents. Would you say that's accurate? Yeah?
It's really math, I think.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know if that's a big thing or not, but it just, the number 1,000 jumps out. So that's why. And then the body worn camera, would you say there's any issue there, or is that just, pretty normal and standard to see 15 or 16% of, issues with body worn camera footage?
It's an issue that we've been working on with the department. It is an issue, though, and just a little primer on the way that the body worn camera works is one is supposed to have it in what's called a buffering mode. And what that does is when one activates the camera is constantly recording, so you get a set amount of time before the push of the button, which is recorded and presented without audio. It's 30 seconds here. In Petaluma, it can be up to a minute, I think, in some jurisdictions. So when that isn't set in that appropriate mode, there is the potential of losing that 30 seconds, which can, on occasion, have vital evidence contained in that time period. So we want that buffer, and we want the camera to be in that buffer mode. Sometimes we see that it isn't, and that's one of the things we bring to the attention of the department, and the department is now tracking those numbers for individual officers.
Awesome. Thanks. I always appreciate these reports. I learn a lot. Thanks.
Councilmember Now.
I first want to thank you. Of course, I've heard this before, and I want to really thank you for bringing the acronyms, explaining what they are, because the rest of the public doesn't always know what RIPA stands for. But there was an acronym tonight, WRAP, W-R-A-P, that I didn't know what it meant, and EMCOTS, MCOTS.
Yeah. So the WRAP, I don't think it's an acronym. It's what it's called. It is a device that's used for maximal restraint of individuals who pose certain challenges for officers. Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of a cocoon, and there's a picture of it actually in the report, and it's a very useful device under the right circumstances.
Okay. And then the MCOTS, EMCOTS?
Yeah.
What does
So
that
that's,
stand for?
so we use a
Soccer puck, they can just take off on their e-bike or drive them to a friend's house. But
for everybody once this is in place. So we just couldn't get a date, so they're talking about
site-specific are all documented there on our web pages related to the cannabis program, so you can.
What I was really referring to is the actual enforcement policies that are being anticipated, what actions, police actions might be anticipated for these 3 locations. Is there any concerns? It knows if an incident does happen based on that.
Yeah, I mean, clearly the conversations that we're having with any business community, with any product, alcohol, cannabis, et cetera, massage parlors, if you've been following Santa Rosa, is a discussion of what activities are occurring on and off those premises, and especially those illicit activities. And so clearly we're looking at things that are going to impact traffic in those areas. We're looking at on-site consumption, whether, our regulations don't have that being permissible, but we anticipate, like alcohol off-sale permittees, or in this case, cannabis retailers, that they may have consumers that buy product and then go out to their vehicles and consume. That would be called to those situations. We just recently, in the last year, our traffic department received grant funding for Setoxa, which Setoxas are the equivalent of a breathalyzer, but for marijuana substance testing. We recently responded to a fatal collision for our allied agencies in the region, and they used our testing device to test for impairment. So we're prepared for those situations as we anticipate potentially an increase of impaired drivers in our community that may be utilizing cannabis and then making poor decisions in operating their vehicle. Retail theft. In the industry right now, you're aware of the changes with Prop 36, but we see many of our retailers dealing with either organized retail crime or just general slippage and shoplifting kind of situations. Many of the products that the vendors in the cannabis industry are selling are small quantities. They're regulated by the state cannabis board, so they can only allow small doses, which are easily stolen. And so in an open market platform, many of the retailers are saying that they're having challenges with people shoplifting products as they try to have them engage with those items. And then clearly, all of them and our regulations that we crafted have a lens that we're concerned about juvenile and youth access. And we have a really robust tobacco retail licensing ordinance that's been effective. We have robust alcohol and RBS training here locally, and we anticipate just applying many of those lessons learned and those practices to the cannabis, as it's to many degrees just a different product with same concerns and sensitivities.
Good, thank you. I just want to make sure that the public can hear that we are ready and we are prepared for this.
Very much so.
So I just want to make sure that that's clear to everyone, that we have got it under management.
Yeah, I would just offer one more comment. So we work in a multidisciplinary approach. Our planning department partners from CDD, our legal team. So it's code enforcement, police, planning, and the legal helping us apply and manage our local regulations. So really collaborative effort, but definitely from a community quality health standpoint. Thank you.
Okay, let's go to public comment on this item and see if there's anyone wishing to address the council on this item.
You don't think I'm going to let this one pass, do you?
And tonight we have John Hanania, I believe.
Good evening. As most of you know, in one way or the other, I have complained and complained for the last 35 years. But I've always given the credit where credit is due. In the past, my best communication with the police department was with Captain Dave Sears. Currently, my experience that you have all the administration trying to hold the police department as accountable to the much higher standard. And when I observe anything wrong, and I bring it to their attention, and I've always said about God, when He created mankind, one mouth, 2 ears, they're actually listening with 2 ears, and they're acting up on it, and they're taking care of it, and they're trying to hold much higher standard. They're having more open dialogue with the community, and trying to have more education. And just some of you might not know, and maybe the city manager does not know this, most of your staff at the administration is actually working more than their hours. Okay? They're working in their days off. Lieutenant Glaviano, he's there at least 6 days a week. And most of my communication is with Lieutenant Glaviano. So he's supposed to be working Monday through Thursday, but you can catch them there at least 6 days a week. Okay? So does the rest of the administration. So I just want to point out to you, they're actually holding the staff to much higher standard. And one of the reasons that you have lots of police officers, because they want to hold them accountable. And the things I see wrong, they're actually, I don't complain, I bring it to their attention and they use it for improvement, education process, and instead of reprimand and, so I just want to point that out to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And no, I was not looking for a brownie or attaboy in my back.
Well, it is very nice to hear positive comments about city staff, so thank you for being that person tonight. Back to council. Any closing thoughts? Councilmember Barnacle?
Just because we talked about e-bikes so much, I just want to make sure that we point out that distracted driving and unsafe driving is still by far the biggest safety issue that we have in our city in terms of fatalities and injuries and things like that. But I do agree that e-bikes are an increasing problem. I just want to acknowledge that this started as part of a race relations ad hoc committee that then translated into we want to have stronger relationships and more trust with the community. And what I'm seeing now with 82 or 83% of our staff having less than 5 years is that this is just really important training program and training thing. And I totally agree with Mr. Hanania that they are that our administration is, holding people to high standards, and I just commend you for the work that goes into this. Like I said, I respect Jim Duffy a lot, and so when he says we're the only ones in Sonoma County, and I go to mayors and council members meetings, and I hear from other people, Petaluma Police are the best. We're looking at what you're doing and trying to recreate it here. I commend you for that. We're not perfect. We're not going to be perfect. The gentleman that was here this evening and spoke during public comment, his case is valid too, right? That's his experience. But I believe in my heart that we take those cases seriously, and I really appreciate the work that everybody's doing to keep our community safe and to, really increase the trust that our community has in us every day. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone? I think Councilmember Barnacle makes a great point, but I'd just like to read Jim Duffy's comments right into the record to what he wrote there. And literally he said, this year marks 10 years since the Presidential Task Force on 21st Century Policing issued a recommendation stating that some form of civilian oversight of law enforcement is important to strengthen trust with the community. And Petaluma is the only city in Sonoma County that has accomplished the task of establishing effective, as defined by the National Association for Civilian Oversight of Law Enforcement, civilian oversight in the last decade. Kudos, Jim Duffy. That's a great statement of backing from the public for the work you all doing, and I appreciate it. And
I'll just say quickly that I do appreciate your report, and I do appreciate our police department keeping our community and our town safe. So thank you.
And with that, we thank you for the report, and we adjourn the meeting for the evening. Thank you very much. And we're adjourning in honor of Gloria Robinson and all the achievements she's brought to the community as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.